That's the Halderson home, Windsor, Wisconsin. A quiet street, in a quiet house, kind of in a quiet town. At this point, perhaps it would be best if I told you a little bit about the Halderson family. Bart, the father, Krista, the mother. They have two sons, Chandler, the defendant, and his older brother, Mitchell. Chandler and Mitchell are close in age, but Mitchell's a little bit older. But in July of 2021, it's Bart and Krista living in that house, and their adult 23-year-old son, Chandler Halderson, living in his room. When did you first begin your relationship with Chandler?
In August 2019.
And how did you meet?
We met through a friend.
What was Chandler, what was going on in his life when you first met? What was he doing with his life?
He was attending college. He was living at home and preparing to move into an apartment. Dog sitting quite often.
And where were you in life? What were you up to when you first met back in 2019?
When I first met Chandler, I was going to school as well, part of Student Senate, doing shows in the theater department.
What types of things did you and Chandler do in your relationship? Did you go on a lot of dates together?
Yeah, we would grab dinners, have movie dates, just sit at home and watch movies, go on walks quite often, play with the dogs. That was a big thing. We loved playing Frisbee with the dogs.
From my understanding, he joined the Madison police diving team for search and rescue missions. I know he'd gone a few times with them, to my knowledge, but I never went with him or dropped him off or saw anything too much.
Did he ever tell you about any of his search and rescue missions?
Yes, he told me a couple of times about getting caught in riptides, and one time he said that he saw a body while doing it, while scuba diving, and that he was a little weirded out by that.
Okay. Did he ever bring home any mementos or anything he found while scuba diving?
Yes. I know there was one time he brought home a large pink sex toy that he found, and then there was one time I believe he brought home like an old rusty looking knife.
And were these from his scuba diving missions with the Madison Police Department? Was that your understanding?
I believe so.
He was working at the swimming. I think it was the DNR or yeah.
Do you know what he was doing for them?
Well, he's a good swimmer, so he wasn't called to, I don't know, to rescue, to see something in the waters. I really, but it was something with the DNR, I remember.
He would get called to do rescues and things like that?
Yes.
Did you and Chandler ever talk about him working with the police at all, with scuba diving or anything like that?
With the DNR.
Sure. Tell me about that.
He told me he would scuba dive for the DNR and then sometimes help out the police through the DNR.
Did he say what he would do for them, like specifically?
Scuba diving, look in the lakes for stuff.
Was this like a job or a volunteer thing? What was your understanding from Chandler?
I believe it was a job.
And did he have this throughout the time you were dating?
During the summer.
Were there ever times where Chandler would go to that job, as far as you knew, or need to schedule time to be there?
Yes.
How would that come up?
He would just tell me he had to be on call days and we couldn't hang out those days, or he would only have select time to hang out or else he'd be on call. So
there'd be times you couldn't hang out because he would say he was on call?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see Chandler with any sort of scuba diving equipment, oxygen tanks, those flippers that people put on, anything like that?
No.
Did you believe he worked at this dive team job back at
Yes.
that time?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, was Chandler ever on a rescue dive team associated with any law enforcement?
No, he was not.
What about the DNR? Was he on anything to your knowledge
Not
concerning
to my
them?
knowledge, no.
Does the Madison Police have a scuba diving rescue team?
No,
Has someone named Chandler Halderson ever been employed by the Madison Police to your knowledge?
no.
What, if anything, did you believe about your brother Chandler's schooling?
Believed he had not currently graduated yet, but was attending online classes at MATC.
And what did you believe he was studying?
Renewable resource engineering was the general consensus I had.
Did you have any knowledge about when he was scheduled to graduate or?
No.
Okay.
Was Chandler around this time, was he going to school anywhere while he was working at American Family?
He was having, he was doing a credit because he was going to UW. So he was needed a credit to go to the UW, I think. Because Catherine's, I think.
Did Chandler talk to you much about going to school and what classes he was taking?
No. It was one class that he needed to graduate.
He was about to graduate.
I think so.
As far as you knew, in 2020 and this year even, 2021, let's say the spring of last year, was Chandler going to school?
Yes.
Did he talk about that with you?
Yes.
What did you know about where Chandler was going to school and what he was doing?
He was taking classes online through MATC for UW, and it was for an IT degree.
Would Chandler talk a lot about school with you?
Often.
What kind of things would you talk about?
When we'd have tests or homework that we were doing.
Going in this year, did he ever show you any sort of like work he was doing for school, any projects, things like that?
He showed me some coding he was doing once.
For a class? You said he was going online. Did Chandler ever physically go there as far as you knew? For a class?
I don't remember.
This spring, going into the summer, prior to everything happening, did you believe Chandler was going to MATC?
Yes.
Did you ever see his grades? Did he ever share his grades with you or transcripts or anything like that?
No, he didn't show me.
Do you know how close he was to graduating?
One class away, I believed.
And then going into fall of 2020, see some Microsoft Word classes, networking classes, psychology, mostly withdrawn with a couple Fs there, correct?
Correct.
And that fall of 2020 didn't complete any credits, but that was the last time that he was enrolled at MATC.
Yes.
So after the fall of 2020, he was not a student there any longer, from what you're able to glean from all these documents.
Correct.
And the parents were starting to grow suspicious. And we knew this because when we searched the house, we started to find notes on Bart Halderson's desk. Bart Halderson was one of these guys who prints his emails. I don't know if any of you print your emails, but some people, they get an email and they print it out. That was Bart. And we find one. It's an email between Bart and Krista. detailing a conversation that he had had with Chandler's advisors at MATC. Supposed to meet with someone else, so we met with this guy, Daniel Spieth. Chandler's going to get a solar certificate. He wasn't. He's registered for fall classes. He wasn't. He's in the IT program. He wasn't. All of these things, line by line, none of them true. But Bart Halderson talked to this person. So police honed in on something, that line. When I talked to the advisor, he sounds just like Chaz on the phone. And he gives this number. That is, of course, because Bart Halderson, when he talked to Chandler's college advisor, was just talking to Chandler, who had bought a burner phone, cheap phone from like Walgreens that you can buy with no service carrier. And police know that because they searched Chandler's bedroom, and in his desk drawer, they found that phone. This friend was a guy named Andrew Smith. Now, Mr. Smith, Mr. Halderson, became kind of best friends. They would talk all the time. They communicated in this video game all the time. And Mr. Smith, he'll testify, he's coming up here, lives down south, he's back in the US. He'll tell you that Chandler really liked an SKS rifle when they play some of these shooting games. It was just something he liked. Not a big deal, there's nothing wrong with that. But this past summer, about a month before the murders of Bart and Krista Halderson, this online friend, Andrew Smith, comes to visit Mr. Halderson and stays at the home with Bart and Krista. This is a picture of Mr. Smith in that perhaps crudely designed yellow shirt. That's Mr. Halderson. It's the only photo we have of them on that visit. You'll learn that Mr. Smith had gotten out of the military. He was done with it. But you also learn that he really likes guns. Like, he really likes guns. And he knew his friend liked SKS rifles. So when he visited him this year in June, he brought with him a gift. The SKS rifle that was found about 100 yards from Bart Halderson's body. Now, you'll meet Mr. Smith, and you'll probably concur with me after meeting him. He's not really probably a paperwork kind of guy. And so when he gave the gun to Mr. Halderson, he wanted to document that he transferred the gun. But he wasn't going to fill out any paperwork. So he just took the serial number of the gun, and he put Mr. Halderson's driver's license next to it, and snapped a picture on his phone. There's a clear picture of that. But that serial number matches the gun found in the barn 100 yards from Bart Halderson's body. And before Mr. Smith left, he decided he would gift his friend something else, which was about 400 rounds of high-powered ammunition. Do you know someone by the name of Chandler Halderson?
Yes, sir.
How did you meet Chandler Halderson?
Playing video games while I was stationed in Germany, sir.
What type of video games were you playing?
Mostly FPS, sir.
What type of game is that?
So, go around, complete objectives, and capture certain scenarios, sir.
Okay. Is it a shooting game?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so how about did you end up meeting Chandler? Was he just in one of these games and you talked to him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you talk to him a lot?
Yes, sir.
Did you develop a friendship?
Yes, sir.
About what time was this? What year was this?
I want to say it was 2019 or 2018. It was shortly after my son was born, sir.
Okay. And how often, if you just had to give us a general overview, how often would you play video games with Chandler online?
Almost every day, sir.
Okay. When you came back to the United States, what state did you move to or live in?
Kansas, sir.
Is that your home?
For now.
Okay. Had you ever spent much time in Wisconsin before?
No, sir.
Okay. After you moved back to Wisconsin or to the United States, did your frequency of playing video games with Mr. Halderson, did it increase, decrease, stay the same?
Increase, sir. I was in the same time zone.
Okay. And would you continue to play the same types of games?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there any specific weapons that Mr. Halderson liked when he was playing these games?
It really depended on what we were playing. On Tarkov, or Escape from Tarkov is what the game was called. It would range for realistically to whatever we could find inside the video game, because not everything was necessarily easily to collect, but the SKS was certainly a weapon that was fun to use in Tarkov and was something that I had grown interest in as well.
At some point, you decided to come visit Chandler.
Yes, sir.
Whenabouts was that?
Sometime during, I think it was June, sir.
Of this past year.
Yes.
Where'd you stay when you were up here with Mr. Halderson?
In their family home in the basement, sir.
Did you meet his parents?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were up here, what kind of things did you do for fun? Where'd you go?
So we went swimming at some river at some point, and then we went and drove around to the different department stores, and we're looking at weapons and all that. So we went to Cabela's. We went to, I want to say it was Bass Pro, but that doesn't sound right. I know we went to Gander Mountain, and then we went to like one or two other places, but I can't remember what they were.
How long did you stay up here with Chandler and the family when you came to visit?
So I got up there on Saturday morning, right around 5 a.m., I think, and then I stayed there until Sunday evening around 1700, and then went and departed and was able to arrive back home on Monday around 2 or 4 in the morning, somewhere between, sir.
Okay. When you visited Wisconsin to see Chandler, you brought him a gift.
Yes, sir.
What did you bring him?
I brought him a 20-inch barrel SKS.
How did you acquire this gun?
So I had purchased it on a gun broker, and I went and had it sent to my FL, and then I went and sat in the FL until I went and did the FL transfer. So I purchased it initially because I thought like, oh, well, I like it in the video game, I might like it in real life, and then I fired it, it sat in my safe, and then I never touched it again, and then it just dawned on me like, well, I'm gonna give it to someone who might actually appreciate this weapon and take care of it and all that, so I ended up giving it to Chandler as a gift.
Okay. So while you like guns, you didn't particularly love this gun?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, when you gave the gun to Chandler, did he pay you for it?
No, sir.
It was a gift.
Yes, sir.
Did you document in any way transferring that gun to him?
Yes, sir.
How did you choose? Did you fill out paperwork like this?
I took his photo ID that the state issued him, and I took it right next to the serial number, annotating that this was me giving this weapon to this individual, so that way, if anything like this would occur, that it wouldn't necessarily come back to me.
Had Chandler asked you for this gun, or was this just your idea?
I think he had at one point asked for it as a joke, but mostly it was my idea, sir.
Okay. You brought him other things that go with the gun?
Yes, sir.
What type of things?
So I had brought him a steel canister that had contained roughly 480 rounds of 7.62 by 39 steel case tool ammo.
And is that the ammunition that goes with that weapon?
Yes, sir.
What did Chandler do with the gun? Were you able to figure out where he put it in the house?
Yeah, he had initially, so if you would walk down the flight of stairs in the basement, you would look left, there was like a little wood pile, and he had stuck it in the middle section there because it was, I understood that they might not be happy about having this firearm. So, but he had told me he was going to be moving soon to do a career in SpaceX in Florida, so he was just going to take it with him and move out there with it.
Okay. Were there any magazines that came with the gun?
Yes, sir. 3.
How many?
3.
And those all went with that gun?
Yes, sir.
Were they loaded when you gave them to him?
Not initially, sir.
How did they become loaded?
I think we were bullshitting with the magazine, sir, and both of us, and were like, he was asking me how to load it, so I was like, oh, and I was showing him how to pack the magazine.
Sure. How did Chandler react when you gave him the gun?
Oh, he was happy.
What do you mean, but how do you know he was happy, or how do you know that?
Because he had a big smile on his face when I had given it to him as a gift.
Okay. At some point, did Chandler get another job that you were aware of?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Tell me about what job was that?
That was the American Family Insurance.
And what sticks out to you about remembering about Chandler working at American Family Insurance?
Well, I took him out to eat because he got the job. But he had people, a group of people, they were putting on for him. Yes.
So you took him out to eat when he got the job?
Yes.
Where did you go to eat?
Oh, Mexican Rositas. He likes the tacos.
And was this kind of a celebratory dinner? Did people dress up and things like that?
Yeah, he was dressed up really nice.
And did Mr. Halderson or did Chandler tell you about the job that he was getting at American Family Insurance?
Briefly. It was something about computers. You know, he's a computer guy.
Did Chandler ever talk to you much about his job at American Family Insurance?
Yeah, he was working at home. That's about it.
Did you know anything about exactly what he was doing?
Just computers.
Who all went to that dinner?
Just him and I.
Oh, okay. You two together.
Yes.
Okay.
I asked him to meet me there.
Whose idea was it to go out?
Mine.
And because he had gotten the job?
Yes.
And you paid for dinner, I would imagine?
Yes.
At some points in the past year and a half or so, did Chandler get a job with American Family Insurance?
Yes.
And what did Chandler tell you about that, or what did you know about what he was doing?
That it was an internship to help graduate through school, and he'd be doing stuff with solar panels and laying up plans for companies, going through American Family and such.
So it was an internship. Was it eventually a job or something else, like where he got paid?
A paid internship, I believe.
Okay. Did he ever show you any of his work that he was working on?
He showed me a plan on a whiteboard that he was drawing up.
When you say a whiteboard, what do you mean by that?
Like a whiteboard that you hang up in your home or see in school.
Okay. And what was on that whiteboard that he was showing you, if you remember?
A building and where they wanted to place the solar panels and how it was by a highway, so it would be a safety hazard for the direction they want to point it in because of the angle of the sun could be blinding the drivers.
Did you seem excited about this project when he was talking to you about it?
Yes.
Okay. Did Chandler have any issues with pay at American Family Insurance and getting his paychecks?
Yes.
Tell me what you know about that from Chandler.
That there was something going on with who American Family would go through for payment, that the check went to the wrong address and then it had to be canceled, and then he tried setting up for direct deposit and something happened with that, and then the amount that they had to pay him was too much, so they didn't believe they owed some of that amount of money, and then it just wasn't getting to him.
Because of this issue or maybe others, were there times in your relationship where it didn't seem like Chandler had a lot of money?
Yes.
When you all went out to get food or something along those lines, would it be more common for you to pay or for him to pay, or how would that work?
For me to pay.
You might not have some specific dates, and that's totally okay, but do you know approximately kind of the time period Chandler was working at American Family Insurance?
Believe January until the spring.
Okay. Kind of the same question as before with MATC when I asked you about transcripts. Regarding American Family Insurance, did you ever see any documents, pay stubs, contracts, HR stuff, anything with like the logo of American Family kind of around Chandler or in his bedroom or anything like that?
I did not.
And in that time period you were dating, 2020 and 2021, while he said he had this job, did you believe he was working at American Family Insurance?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Where, if anywhere, did you believe your brother worked in June of 2021?
I believed at American Family.
What did you think he did there?
Answering questions on a message board, things you can do from remotely.
Your understanding he was working from home like most people?
Yes.
When they talk about American Family Insurance, the first big lie Chandler was making up, again, the people at American Family Insurance, you'll hear them testify.
How are you employed, Ms. Snap?
I work for American Family Insurance.
Did they ask you to research whether or not Chandler Halderson was ever employed by American Family?
Yes, they did.
And what did you find out?
I found no record of that person working for American Family.
Chandler had been claiming to work there for a year, but he never had any money. And his father was an accountant, so his father would ask him questions pretty much daily. Why don't you have any money? Why haven't you paid any rent? And Chandler spun an amazing web of lies. First it was, well, I'm a salary guy, but they were accidentally paying me hourly, so they just held my paychecks until they fixed it. Then it was, well, I gave him the wrong direct deposit info. Then it kind of shifted eventually. And he said, well, they were going to pay me, but now the amount is so much, they got to pay me so much money that when they deposited in the bank, they thought it was fake. And police started to find emails like this. This from Tom Selznick, a guy at American Family Insurance, a Northeast remote human resources guy, describing this. You're registered as salary, but you're making hourly. And these emails would go back and forth with Chandler and the HR person, and eventually he'd forward them to his father. But in the way a parent looks at their child as maybe telling the truth is not the way that you as jurors have to look at this. You, like the police, maybe have to take a more critical look at emails like this. And for one, notice, why is the guy who works at Human Resources at American Family Insurance using a Proton Mail generic email address? Why is the guy who's the Human Resources manager spelling the word resources wrong, saying he's the Human Recourses manager? It's comically fake. He emailed himself back and forth, trying to explain why he didn't have any money, and he forwards it to his dad. Now here's where the story gets maybe a little more complex. Having a fake job solves a lot of riddles in your life. No one's hassling you to get a new job. No one's hassling you to do chores all day. The problem is, if your dad works from home, if he was an accountant, for instance, which he was, and which he did, you actually have to wake up early every day and go to work. So there he was. Messages between Bart and Chandler. Hey, are you up for your meetings? Yeah. Over and over again. So Chandler woke up. But he had nothing to do all day because his job was pretend. And so he sat on his computer playing video games. At some point going into 2021, so just last year before the summer, did it appear that Chandler had gotten a new job or was in the process of getting a new job?
Yes.
And where was that job at?
The company or the
Yeah,
location?
what was the company?
SpaceX.
Okay. So in the blue here, that's Chandler, correct?
Correct.
I have a good feeling about SpaceX. You say, I'm proud of you. What does Chandler say there?
Thanks. I hope I get a job.
And you say, me too. In general, were you hoping Chandler got this job?
Yes.
Why?
He seemed excited about it. A lot of pay.
A lot of pay? Did Chandler ever tell you how much money he'd be making at SpaceX?
It's 80,000.
80,000? Okay. So after you say, me too, we're still on the 23rd, he says, I'll be happy. And you respond, I'll be very happy for you too. You'll get the money you want, the job you want, right? You were happy for him.
Correct.
But you're talking about the location and the money, and Chandler says, can you read that one for us?
But I'll be happy with money.
And you say maybe they'll transfer you in a couple years. Was there any discussion about that around that time?
Yes.
And what was that discussion about? Maybe transferring or where this job was?
The job was in Florida.
Okay. And that would take you to Florida as well?
Correct.
Okay. Was it your intention to move with Chandler?
Yes.
And on May 24th, he sends you this message. What does it say?
I have a follow-up interview for Florida tomorrow.
And as that kind of approached, on the 25th now of May, you're saying, tell me, kind of in an exaggerated fashion, but just tell me what's going on?
Yes.
And what does Chandler say?
Shoot, sorry, I got the job.
and you say congratulations. You have a discussion about the job in general and eventually Chandler. The same day, the 25th, what does he say to you?
I have training next week over the computer, and I leave June 11th and start on June 14th.
You and Chandler discuss, perhaps, I think you said that you were going to move with him eventually, right?
Correct.
Was it going to be right away, or were you going to wait a couple weeks?
Wait a couple weeks.
Okay. And what does Chandler text you on the 25th?
I'll come back every other weekend, hon.
And what else?
And I can send you money till your lease is up and you move in with me.
The text messages that day end with Chandler sending you a couple messages. Can you read the first one?
If you're positive you want to be with me for the long run.
Was that in relation to you moving with him?
Yes.
And he says, what last?
Because if you're not, then I don't think you should.
Did the topic of you and Chandler moving to Florida, is that like something you talked about a lot?
Yes.
Were you excited about that?
Yes.
Did you tell your family?
Yes.
Did you tell your friends?
Yes.
So in late June, as he's supposed to start the job at SpaceX in Florida for Elon Musk, something happens in the Halderson family, something real. There's a change. Remember when I started off and I said there were 2 sons? His older brother gets hospitalized. That's real. It happened.
In June of this last year, 2021, you had a significant health episode. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, what occurred?
I went to the doctor for a regular scheduled appointment since I hadn't gone during COVID and wanted to get blood work done, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes.
And in fact, you were hospitalized for a period of time.
Yes, that is true.
Was your mom or dad, did they seem concerned to you at all?
Yes,
You kind of laughed there. Why'd you laugh?
my mom was overly concerned.
How did she express that?
Not as much to me, trying to not show me that, but I have heard later on that she called her best friend many times crying.
Okay. And in fact, during your illness, your brother gave you a gift. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
What did he give you?
A unknown type of bullet with the words "get well soon" on it.
I think we saw in one of those prior texts that the SpaceX job was supposed to begin mid-June. Was that your understanding of the timing?
Yes.
Around the time it was supposed to start, did something happen that caused a delay?
Yes.
What happened?
Mitch went to the hospital.
Chandler's brother? And he's testified and told everyone kind of about it. But in general, what was your understanding of what was going on?
His sugar levels were very high and he had to be there for a couple days.
What did Chandler, did he tell you anything about whether that was going to delay SpaceX, or what the relationship between those two things are, Mitchell's illness and SpaceX?
He didn't want to leave while Mitch was ill.
Mitch was in the hospital for a couple days?
Yes.
Mr. Halderson uses that as an excuse to delay starting at SpaceX. It was a stroke of good luck for him, a stroke of bad luck, of course, for the family, but a stroke of good luck for him. But that only gave him a couple of weeks. So his brother, who's doing really well in life, engaged, house, real job, making a lot of money, suddenly he's in the hospital, being doted over by his family, by his mother. People care about him. So roughly a week later, when Chandler Halderson needs to think of a new lie to get out of the SpaceX lie, guess who ends up in the hospital? Being doted over by his mother and his family with a supposed neck injury. This is Father's Day of this year, in late June. That's Bart Halderson in the middle, Mitchell on the right. Of course, Chandler wearing a neck brace that no one told him he had to wear on the left.
So do you know about what time of day you saw Mr. Halderson on June 17th?
I believe it was around noon.
Okay. What symptoms did he present with?
I believe he was complaining of some pain to his head and his right ribs after a reported fall down some stairs.
And you said you had provided a neck collar. What instructions, if any, did you give him concerning that neck collar?
Yes, ma'am. So when we have someone with persistent pain but negative imaging, they go home with what's called a PMT collar. It's a soft collar that gives support to the head and the neck. And in general, they're instructed to follow up with their primary care physician and a spine physician if they're continuing to have pain or symptoms, generally in the 4 to 6 week period. I will say that many times patients have improvement of their symptoms before, so they'll self-remove their collars and they may or may not present later for follow-up.
At any point, did you give Mr. Halderson directions that he had to wear it for a certain amount of time?
I did not specifically give him that information, no.
Okay. In June of 2021, your brother suffers a fall.
Yes.
What, if anything, did you know about that fall?
I was told that while my dad was home working, he had heard a thud and that he went upstairs to find my brother on the ground next to the staircase or on the staircase.
At some point, did Chandler suffer some sort of injury?
Yes, sir.
What
As
do you know
far
about
as
that?
I know, he went down the stairs and had fell somehow and screwed up his head or his neck.
And did that injury, according to Chandler, did that end up impacting his job or anything like that?
As far as I knew, so it seemed that because of the injury, he wasn't going to be able to take a flight out to Florida to do this SpaceX thing. But other than that, he didn't really explain what was wrong, just that he wasn't going to be able to fly out there and he wasn't able to look at computer screens or anything like that with so much blur on the screen or motion blur.
After Mitchell's hospitalization, did anything else happen that caused the delay in SpaceX?
Chandler fell.
Chandler was in the hospital.
Yes.
What did you know about Chandler falling?
He was running and slipped down the stairs and then fell pretty hard and hit his head.
Did Chandler talk to you about his injury?
Yes.
What kind of symptoms was he reporting that he was feeling after that fall?
Tingles in his legs, sensitivity to light, severe headaches, weakness.
Was Chandler able to physically do normal things around that time?
No,
What do you mean by that?
he had a hard time lifting things and quite often would get lightheaded.
Could he carry heavy things from what you observed or knew?
No,
Could he drive long distances, things of that sort?
no,
Was he able to travel?
no,
Why do you know that, or why do you say that?
because of the head injury and wearing the neck brace.
I don't even know if they're done bleeding like as bad as they can be yet. So that's not fun.
And I think you were telling me last night it's a symptom of a concussion, right?
So
Is that right?
that's not it. It's a symptom of nerve damage from the hip to my spine. So
okay.
it's permanent.
Okay, I understand that now better.
Yeah. So it's just legs. I think it's waist feeling is probably colostomy bag down the road.
Now, around this time, Chandler started telling people an extraordinarily bizarre set of claims. That he had a brain bleed, a hematoma, that he had spinal damage, that he needed his head drilled open, that he inability to use his legs at all. Couldn't drive. People had to do that for him. That he had nerve damage, that he needed to get a colostomy bag. But most importantly, he couldn't go to Florida. The doctors had told him he couldn't fly.
At any point in time during your visit with Mr. Halderson, did you tell him he was going to experience paralysis?
No, ma'am.
At any point during your time with Mr. Halderson, did you tell him that he had a brain bleed?
No, ma'am.
At any point during your appointment with Mr. Halderson, did you at any point tell him that he had a brain aneurysm?
No, ma'am.
At any point did you tell him that he had nerve damage?
I don't believe so. No, ma'am.
At any point did you tell him he had a spinal injury?
No, I don't believe so.
At any point did you advise him that he should not fly in an airplane?
No, ma'am.
At any point did you tell him that he should not drive?
I don't believe so. No.
At any point did you ever say that he shouldn't drive long distances?
No, ma'am.
At any point did you tell him that he had a hematoma in his brain?
No, ma'am, I did not.
At any point did you tell him that he would have an inability to use his legs in a normal manner?
No, ma'am.
At any point did you tell him, because of his mild concussion, that he was going to have a colostomy bag?
No, ma'am.
And just to be clear, that's a bag for poop.
That's correct.
At any point in time, did you have to drill a hole into his head?
No, ma'am.
So suddenly this man, who was, for all intents and purposes, disabled, was being doted over by his family. People were making him meals. You'll see notes his mom was leaving for him. Call this neighbor if you need anything. She'll help you out. Couldn't drive, couldn't work, couldn't do chores. Now, a bit of a preview and a fast forward. This guy who's wearing a neck brace nearly every day in late June 2021 would have no problem just days later carrying large bags of ice out of gas stations to chill his father's cut-up body in a freezer. And you'll note, no neck brace. And in fact, you'll note in this case, Chandler Halderson is never seen in that neck brace again after July 1st, 2021, when he kills his parents. The lie about going to MATC or Madison College was the most extensive. There were emails, dozens, if not hundreds of emails going back and forth between supposed advisors at MATC and Chandler, and then he'd forward them to his dad from people like someone named Alyssa Brandt, 64. Sometimes Chandler would spell Brandt, B-R-A-N-D-T, sometimes just with a T and no D, depended on the day. But they all had the @Gmail address, not at madisoncollege.edu. And you'll hear from the people at Madison College. Their people have real emails. They don't use Gmail. But it was over and over again. Alyssa Brandt was one of them. You heard about Daniel Spieth, also at Gmail. There was someone named Aaron Hoover, also at Gmail. In this one, Chandler's getting upset. I have to have a call with whomever's in charge within the next 30 minutes. I have been a student for over 3 years, and I will be treated fairly. Of course, he's yelling at himself. All of these were fake. Back and forth to himself, and eventually to his dad. The Halderson parents had to have been growing extraordinarily frustrated. Kid wasn't getting paid. He was injured suddenly. His college transcripts aren't coming through, so he can't get a job. So police looked at that original note again. They saw something interesting, which is in this sea of fake people, Daniel Spieth, Aaron Hoover, Tom Selznick, Alyssa Brandt, there was one name that stood out, Omar Job. And that name didn't stand out because it was fake. It stood out to the police because it was real. That is the only real person on any of these emails. And what we've discovered in this investigation is in just the day and a half prior to being murdered, Bart Halderson, Chandler's dad, called MATC and pretended to be Chandler to try to finally get some information on what's going on. Just as any of you could call any doctor and pretend to be your kid, you know their name, their social security number, their birthday, you can get through. You can get through those minor security things. Bart called MATC, said, I'm Chandler, and I want some answers. And for 17 minutes, Bart Halderson, just before his murder, talked to a man named Omar Job, Omar Job is a entry-level customer service guy at MATC. He's got no skin in the game, doesn't even really remember the call, but it was recorded for customer service purposes. And Bart Halderson questions Omar, and he's very mean at first, because in his mind, he'd been getting screwed around for a year on where his son's transcripts were and what degree program he was in and why he hasn't graduated yet. Good morning, sir. Would you mind telling us your name and spelling it out for the jury?
My name is Omar Job, Omarjobe.
And sir, what do you do for a living?
I work as an enrollment coordinator at Madison College.
And tell me a little bit about that job. What do you do in that job?
We are customer service that, like one-stop shop that help different departments. We support different departments like financial aid, enrollment, records, admissions, and triage order calls in different parts of different departments within the college.
Hi, I'm trying to get an appointment scheduled to meet with somebody to mainly just get a copy of a transcript and also a printed copy of a certificate that was earned and other degree verification.
Okay.
How do I get that done?
Okay, for the degree, you have to download the duplicate diploma form and send it in with a check or a money order of $4 for the diploma to be mailed back to you. For the transcript, you have to go online and request it.
Yeah, I tried requesting them online and we never got them. And I've spent I don't know how many times doing that at $8 a piece, so I'm not willing to do that again.
Why is not letting you request your transcript? What is it?
It's not my system, it's your system, so don't ask me questions like that.
Okay, but I need to establish the problem first before I can know how to walk you through to get it. Are you by a computer? So I can walk you through on how to get it?
I've gone through the process before. I've worked with, I tried to work with Daniel Spike to see if he can get through the information. I don't know if he's with you guys anymore, but it just seems like the ball keeps getting dropped.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty easy to request a transcript.
That's what I thought too, and
you just go to the
it
website.
hasn't come through.
It doesn't come through they don't send it? Do you request it? Okay. So we have a third party that processes it. It's called Credentials. Mm-hmm. Did you talk to Credentials?
No.
Hello?
Well, yeah.
I said, did you talk to
No, I said no. No.
Okay. So we have a third party. Hold on, let me look at your account first, okay? What is your ID number or social? So I can access your account.
No, I don't have that.
Okay, what's your first name?
Chandler, Chandler. Last name is Hald as in David, Erson.
You said last name is Han?
Hal as in Larry, Derson.
Okay, what's your address and your date of birth?
4595 Oak Springs Circle, DeForest, Wisconsin, 53532. Date of birth is March 15th, 1998.
Okay, so it looks like you owe a balance. You owe a balance of $2,349. So that's why you can't request it. Hello?
Yeah. Can I schedule a time to actually come in there and pay all that and resolve everything at one time?
With the payment, yeah, the payment center is open, yes. You can come in. Somebody will be there. You can make the payment. You can pay online too. They can lift the hold. You can talk to student financials. They will lift the hold, and then you can request a transfer.
How long can they do an unofficial transcript?
Yes, if you have to pay the balance though. You have to pay the balance first. Then you can obtain whatever you want to obtain.
Okay. Now, how long does it take to do an unofficial transcript from you guys?
Right away. You can download it. It's a PDF that you can download right away.
Is there a person there, an office I can go to and have them do it?
Yeah, someone can walk you through. They can show you how to obtain it. And the same as, if you call, we can walk you through to download your unofficial transcript. But like I said, the balance have to be taken care of first.
Yes, I understand that part. So, do I need an appointment, or is it a place you can just go at your Truex field to get that?
You can go to the front desk at the Truex campus. You can go to the main campus. We open Monday through Friday now. So you can walk there, and then someone can help you, process the payment, call student financials to lift the hold, and then you can do or download your unofficial transcript.
You said after the payment, you said to lift the hold, you said call who?
It's a process. So once you make the payment, they can lift the hold right in there. You can tell them, you want to request your transcript, so they will lift the hold right away.
So you said I had to call somebody.
No,
or can they do it if I stop in there?
Yeah, when you stop in, they will do it for you.
Okay. Now, if we've earned a certificate, say in that solar program,
you said
where does that get requested through?
If you earned a certificate,
yeah.
I don't see that you earned a certificate. There were no you were taking,
oh, okay.
You were taking IT classes, right? I don't see that you were in a program.
Well, prior to the IT, there was a solar program too. How far back does that account go? That you're looking at, like when was the first class taken?
See that you were Chandler, and the spring of 2018.
Oh, okay. So that does have all the history then.
Yeah, but I don't see that you were admitted.
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
So I don't see that you were admitted in any program.
Well, you said they were, it's the IT degrees in there, right?
No, those are just classes. Like you took general education classes and then the IT classes. You might have just took the classes but not be in the program. You have the solar. You took a solar class, physics, trigonometry, leadership and art, general chemistry. Yep, you took some solar classes, like I said. Yep, you took solar classes, but you were not in the program.
Mm-hmm. Does the internship from the spring show up in there?
Entrance from the spring of what year? I can go back.
Oh, this year, 2021. Yeah, you do spring. Yeah.
No.
Do those normally show up in there?
Yes, if the internship is part of the curriculum, yes.
Okay. Do you have an Alyssa Brandt that works in that area or anywhere in the campus?
What is the last name?
BRAN. I think it's T or DT.
You said the first name is Alyssa?
Alyssa? Yeah, ALYSSA.
No. All the brands. There's no Alyssa with all the last names that I put.
And does that check non-teachers and everything? It would be anybody on campus that works here?
It will be anybody on campus. The directory will have anybody on campus.
Okay. How about, does Daniel Spice still work there? His last name is Spice. Yeah, it's I'm trying to get the proper spelling. No, SPEITH.
You said SPEITH. No, it's not. So no.
Okay, that should do it then. Okay, thank you for your help.
All right, you're welcome.
But toward the end of the call, Bart asked Omar Job, hey, do any of these people work there? Alyssa Brandt, Daniel Spieth, Aaron Hoover. And he's told no, they've never worked there. And in fact, they haven't. And he says, that'll be it then. That'll be it then are the last recorded words of Bart Halderson alive. Bart Halderson, shortly after that, sends a text message. A text message that ultimately sealed his fate, which was a text to his own son. And it says, I spoke with Omar Job. But the first message is a message from you. To be honest, it's getting to the point where I want to text your mom directly. What was this about on June 30th, 3:18 in the afternoon?
About him being grounded and not being able to see me or hang out.
What was your understanding at that time of what was going on from Chandler? What did he tell you? He was grounded?
Yes.
Okay. Were you wanting to see him?
Yes.
And what did he tell you about whether he could see you or not?
He couldn't.
Because of what?
Because I wasn't allowed over.
You communicated with Krista a lot, right?
Yes.
When you say that, was Chandler telling you that, or did you actually hear that from Krista or Bart?
From Chandler.
Okay. And you say, it's getting to the point where I want to text your mom directly, and Chandler says, can you read that for me?
It's fine, B. That'll only piss them off more.
And what does he say?
This weekend will be great.
That weekend was the 4th of July weekend coming up, right?
Correct.
You say, now we're still June 30th, we're about 3:19 in the afternoon, you say, okay. And he says what?
Thanks, though.
And then on June 30th, you send this message next. What does that say?
We're not going to the cabin, right?
So in the realm of messages, where the cabin, the first time the jury's seen that, how did this come up, or what was going on where you sent this message?
I was under the impression that Mr. and Mrs. Halderson were going up to the cabin for the 4th of July weekend.
Was that conversations or like over the phone or in person you'd had with Chandler, or was that?
Over the phone.
Okay. Chandler Halderson wakes up on July 1st and starts messaging his girlfriend. 7:26, I hardly slept. 7:27, stuff hasn't been going well for me lately. Just trying to plan for the next thing to fuck me over. 7:51, I had a great future planned. It's falling apart.
We also know that on Bart's work calendar, he has a meeting with Chandler and MATC. I don't know if Bart confronted him the night before. I don't know if Bart was going to see how long this ruse or how elaborate this ruse was going to get. But this topic was going to be discussed, and there would be a coming to terms.
1:04, just 2 hours prior to the murders. I overheard they might go to the cabin with their friends, but I don't know. So somewhat of a full circle at this point. That's the moment Chandler Halderson decides to kill his parents and engage in this bizarre story of them missing at a cabin with an unknown couple in an unknown car at 1:04, July 1st. Now, shortly after this message, just about an hour and 10 minutes, Bart Halderson's getting ready to go to MATC for this meeting, perhaps to confront Chandler, perhaps Chandler's going to confront him. Bart texts Chandler, "I'm ready whenever you are." That's about 50 minutes prior to when he was killed. Those are the last words ever recorded of Bart Halderson. His phone is never used, really. Again, he dies at some point. He never goes back to work. No one ever sees him. The neighborhood he lives in, riddled with security cameras, never see him again. I'm ready whenever you are.
I'm ready whenever you are. What happened next? Well, we have to look at the evidence. There's a spent shell casing in the basement of the home. There's a bullet fragment, noticeable reddish-brown staining, also tests positive for Bart's DNA. That's the bullet that went through and through Bart. The spent casing, and that casing tested positive as being shot from the rifle that belonged to Chandler. We also see evidence in the basement of a divot from ricochet, a fresh divot. Also blood, a quadrillion times more likely to be Bart than any other unknown person. More blood. And we know that Chandler texted his mom this: "Dad's phone died. Text or call me." Remember, Dad's phone had a charger right there on the desk. You can plug your phone in and within 10 seconds send a text message. I think here there's a half-truth. Dad's dead. Dad died.
And get sewed on your way home. I have an extra hour of work. You know he didn't have an extra hour of work, but he was delaying her getting there because the evidence will show he needed to move things around, prepare for what he was about to do when she showed up. She responds, "Kay, I can," smiley face. Those are the last words of Krista Halderson alive. Shortly thereafter, around just after 5, neighborhood security cameras, the Haldersons didn't have one, but the neighborhood, a lot of people did, show Krista pulling in, getting out of the car, walking in. She's never seen again. But Chandler creates a note about 5:11 that day on July 1st, probably minutes after killing his parents. And the note reads, "Weekend chores, H2O2 lemon." H2O2 is the chemical name for hydrogen peroxide. You'll hear from people in this case, it's essentially a household cleaner to clean up blood. Lemon, it deodorizes things. Mixed together, it's a pretty cheap cleaning product you can have at home. So Chandler writes a note after murdering his parents: "H2O2 lemon. Door handles. Move your shit upstairs, get a job, and clean the floor." He then does just that. Spends the afternoon cleaning the house, eventually jumps in the shower.
We also know at 7:49 p.m., he's in the shower FaceTiming his girlfriend. So he cleans up. He then departs at 8:16 that night for Quit Trip. We see him there at the Quit Trip. There's the Volvo, there he is. He buys 20 pounds of ice. He arrives back home at 8:29 p.m.
That night, what appears to have happened, what the evidence will show, is Mr. Halderson took items from around the house and began cutting apart his parents. Saw blades covered in Bart and Krista's blood. An axe, Bart and Krista's blood. Hand saws, things of that sort, covered in Bart and Krista's blood. He cleaned the house as best he could, and you'll hear about that. But still, blood spatter found of Bart and Krista's blood around the house. And he had a plan. It wasn't a well thought out plan, but he had one. And that was he was going to burn the remains in the family fireplace there in the house. So it's July 1st. And if any of you remember, 4th of July weekend's pretty hot this year. People in the neighborhood thought it was a little bit weird that so much fireplace was going on. They smelled stuff. One person, this neighborhood's full of retired cops, but one retired cop said, I smelled like a barbecue, smelled like a pig roast. About what time in the day were you out in your lawn clean, or the driveway there cleaning the radishes?
It was probably about 7 o'clock-ish, somewhere around that time.
Okay. And what did you notice around that time that caught your attention?
Well, what caught my attention was while I was there doing that for a period of time, all of a sudden I could detect a strong odor just of burning wood. And so I thought someone maybe had a fireplace or I should say a fire pit or something outside going. They're just burning some firewood. But about 5 minutes or so later, all of a sudden that odor of burning wood became a distinct odor that was more like in the line of what I thought someone was like barbecuing a large pork, like in one of these large barbecue pits or whatever that can hold a whole pork.
Okay. And how long did that smell persist in your neighborhood?
Well, for the remainder of the time I was outside, it was present, kind of became real strong and kind of like a pungent smell.
In relation to Mr. Halderson's house, were you aware of where Bart Halderson lived?
Yes.
Where was your house in relation to his house?
Directly behind him across the pond.
Okay, so if you looked across the pond, you'd see Bart Halderson's house?
You're correct.
Okay. Sir, back in July of 2021, did you have any security cameras at your house?
July 2021, yes.
And that night, a neighbor who had a security camera behind the Halderson home, way far away, was able to catch something. Because it was pitch black at night, it was able to catch just a little glimpse of all the windows in the Halderson house. We have an expert that's going to come in who works with video and light analysis. And he's going to tell you, he was able to figure out which window that was. And the window it was that he was looking at in that camera footage that kind of just piqued his attention was the window by the fireplace. And for many hours over the course of that night, the light flickered, came on, died down, on, down. But eventually, in the middle of the night, the fire started going well. It appeared that air was being pumped into it, and you'll see when they searched the Halderson home, there was in fact a fan found right next to the fireplace, next to a tape measure, trying to make sure the remains were the right size as they went into the fireplace. But that light at one point grew and grew and grew, and it got very bright in one room. And then all of a sudden, the kitchen light came on, and then all the lights went out. The evidence in this case will show that what happened was the fire had gotten out of control, burning these human remains. Human fat was rendering out. It was igniting. So Chandler threw water on it. But when you throw water on your residential fireplace, you break the glass. And that's exactly what happened.
And then July 2nd at 7:02, the Halderson Subaru departs.
Yes.
This is our last aisle in the hardware department. And it's right next to the farm department where we keep tarps and some outdoor gear.
And I'll just draw the jury's attention to maybe that center row, someone about to cross or walk into that aisle. Whereabouts is that person at the top of the screen in the center?
That aisle is where the tarps are located.
What are we looking at there?
This is again up at the front entrance, and that would be lane 1 is the closest checkout lane there.
And do you recognize that item that the person in that video is purchasing?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
It's a black and silver tarp.
And that same vehicle appears to arrive at 7:31 a.m.
Correct. What were your general plans that Friday? Do you recall?
To stop at Target, stop at my apartment, stop at my mom's home, and then go to Chandler's.
And what were you and Chandler going to do?
Hang out, have a sleepover.
Were you excited about this?
Yes.
How long had it been at that time that Chandler had been in this being kind of grounded state where you hadn't seen him a lot?
About 2 weeks.
Okay. On July 2nd at 9 in the morning, after you talk about Target, can you read that message from Chandler to you?
Don't rush. I have tons of chores they are having me do.
You say, okay. And then you talk about what you're having for dinner. Maybe burgers, maybe chili.
Yes.
Right. Talk more about what you're going to have for dinner. He says, I don't know. What would you like? And you say, depends on how long we see each other, talking about, in general, what you're going to do and what you're going to eat. You read what Chandler sent you on the 2nd of July at just before 10 in the morning at 9:58.
We could do dinner tonight, and you can come over in the morning again and stay till Sunday night.
Did that message strike you as odd, of coming over, leaving, and coming back?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was already going to be there, and I thought our plan was for the whole weekend.
And then he says, like dinner plus the sex to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you ask him, why leave and come back if I'm just going to stay? Can you read Chandler's response?
So I can get some chores done.
At 12:14, Chandler sends you this message. What does that say?
We set for this. We just need ice.
Do you know what you needed ice for?
Chandler likes ice in his drinks, or sometimes we put it in a pool for the dogs.
And just after that, Chandler sends you another message. Can you read that?
And now hydrogen peroxide because I stepped on glass.
Is that the first you had heard about any sort of injury?
Yes.
You respond, more talk about groceries. I'll bring spicy cheese and pickled jalapenos.
Yes.
Okay. And again, and I apologize, no one likes to see their messages probably on a giant screen, but it just, in general, you say, and Jesus, you're kind of just making a joke that you'll bring Jesus with you.
Yep.
Okay. Chandler responds at 12:16, yes, please, but then quickly follows up. Can you read that last message?
But for real, if your mom has an extra bottle, that would be great. And a Swiffer wet jet.
Extra bottle, and was it your belief that he's referring to hydrogen peroxide?
Correct.
You respond almost immediately. We have both. He says thanks. Got it. So you got a call on that Friday that she had missed work.
Yeah, they called me late in the day to check. And that Friday, we reached out, and I believe Jane called Chandler and Mitchell. And then we, at that point in time, I got back to work, and we were told, obviously, that they had went to the cabin. And we were leaving on vacation for 2 weeks to go to our cabin in Sainer, Wisconsin. And so we took off, and assuming that everything was kosher, and we just left and went on vacation because that's where we were headed.
Did you leave that Friday?
Yes.
So if I told you that Friday was July 2nd, that sound about right to you?
Yeah.
In early July of last year, 2021, at some point you hear that Krista didn't go to work one day where she was supposed to be there, right?
I got a call from my husband, yes.
And your husband works with Krista?
Correct. At Zimbrick, yes.
What, if anything, do you do with that information when you hear that Krista no-showed on a Friday to work?
I went, that's not my best friend. She would never do that. So I immediately called her cell. It went right to her voicemail. I called Bart. It went right to his voicemail, and I'm like, what the heck? So I didn't remember that I had Chandler.
That's fine.
We call him Chaz.
That's fine.
I didn't remember I had his number, so I called Mitchell right away. And I asked Mitch, I said, where's your mom? And he's like, what do you mean? She's at work. And I said, she didn't go to work and she didn't call in. He's like, I don't know. So then I called Chandler. After he was my fourth call.
Did Chandler provide any other information on this call about the cabin or where his parents were? Anything that you remember?
He said that they went with another couple, and I asked who, and he couldn't tell me. Which I thought was strange, because, I mean, half the time her and I would say, you know, I'm going to the cottage this weekend, whatever. I never got a phone call like that. So that was kind of out of the ordinary for me. And for me to not be able to get a hold of her, I mean, if she didn't answer my calls right away, she would always call me back.
Sure.
Because she was like my sister, so.
Did Chandler seem to have any more details other than they were with another couple and they went to the cabin?
He said that they loaded up a bunch of booze and took a whole bunch of money.
Okay, I do kind of, and there's more talk about whether or not Cat will be there and what time, and Chandler responds, okay, I do kind of need the Swiffer and the peroxide and stuff. Oh, and remember ice. Didn't he just buy 20 pounds of ice less than 12 hours earlier? But he needs more ice. What does he need that ice for? Well, the fireplace broke. We know there's a freezer. He bought lots of ice, and that freezer tested positive for human blood. Parts of his mom and his dad were put in that freezer.
Did you find out on July 2nd of 2021 that Krista no-called and no-showed into work?
Yes, that's correct.
How did you find that out?
I had the day off from work. We were supposed to close on a house, and I received a text from a couple coworkers asking if I'd heard from her.
Had you heard from her?
I had not.
Did she ever discuss with you in the last week of June, that first day in July, any plans to go to her cabin?
No.
What did you do in response to learning that Krista no-called, no-showed?
Initially, we were just my girlfriend and I were taking care of some stuff around the house. I received a second text, I think around 2:30 or so, of another coworker asking if I had heard from her. So around 4:35, 4:40 or so, we drove over to their house to see if I could get a hold of anyone.
What caused you to drive over to her house?
Just because it was weird for her to not show up to work, and I was living just a couple miles away at the time.
What'd you do once you got there?
Initially knocked on the door, no response, so I peered through the front door window, like the side light. I saw what appeared to be a table on its side. No response, then we went to the garage door, checked to see if the vehicles were there, which they were. And then at that point, Chandler came to the door.
Okay. And did you go into the house, talk outside, or something else?
We talked outside of the side garage door.
So tell me about your conversation with Chandler. What did he say?
When we arrived, it appeared he had just gotten out of the shower. I confirmed with him that his parents were not there. And then he had given us a story about how they had gone up north in an emergency to the cabin and went with a couple that he was not sure who they were. Just know that they were picked up early that day and would be gone for a couple of days.
Okay. Did he tell you what time his parents had left?
I know he had said that it was he had not been waken up yet, so it was something early. He heard them leaving, is what he told me.
And other than Chandler just getting out of the shower, was there anything else unusual about his appearance?
He had a bandage on his large toe. Not sure which side it was, but he had a bandage on one of his toes.
Did he say anything about his foot?
He said that he had broken the glass around the fireplace while playing with the dogs.
Okay. Did he describe his injury at all?
He just said there was blood everywhere.
Dan leaves about 10 minutes later after talking with Chandler. And Kat arrives and spends the night.
Then after work, I believe that was the day Kat came over.
After whose work?
Kat, she is
after her work.
5 is her work when she was off. I believe she came over.
So she gets done around 5. Okay.
The cat came at 5, you said?
Oh, I don't think she went straight here after. I
Let's not make
believe
sure
she
I heard
came
right.
over. It could have been later, like 6, maybe give her time for like getting clothes.
When you get over to Chandler's house, do you take the bags of groceries inside, or do they go inside at some point?
Yes.
And the hydrogen peroxide
Yes.
and the Swiffer.
Yes.
When you first go in the house that day, did you notice anything off?
There was a smoky smell.
Did Chandler tell you more about, did he explain why there was a smoky smell?
Because he was playing catch with Rizzo in the house and the glass shattered in the fireplace. And so the smell got into the home.
Rizzo is a dog, right?
Correct, the border collie.
How did Chandler say the glass broke with the dog?
He was throwing the ball in the house.
Did you look into that any further? Did you go over to that fireplace and poke around?
No.
Was there in fact a glass panel broken on it?
Yes.
You stayed the night there that night, right?
Correct.
Where did you all sleep?
On the couches pushed together.
And where were those in the house?
In the lower living room by the fireplace.
Around this time, Chandler had a bedroom, right?
Yes.
Had a bed.
Yes.
Did he explain to you why you were sleeping in a kind of like a fort in the living room?
To be with the dogs and watch TV on the bigger screen.
Had you ever done that before in staying at Chandler's house?
No.
She, I believe she stayed with me on that couch that night.
So she spent the night over.
Yeah.
You guys both slept on the couch downstairs?
Yeah.
Was it near the bathroom where you were sleeping?
Yes.
That night, do you recall anything unique or special about sleeping, or was it kind of a normal night other than the fort?
The girls, the dogs, Rizzo and Izzy, were riled up because of the fireworks.
Was there a TV in that room?
Yes.
Were you watching TV as you went to sleep?
Yes.
Do you know whether Chandler slept at all that night, or do you not know?
I don't know.
While you were with Chandler that night, did he say anything about where his parents were?
Up north at their cabin.
When she came by, we actually we just Bright, no, not Bright. There's this movie or a TV series on Netflix. We watched pretty much the entirety of that into the morning. It was a apocalypse show.
Okay.
I don't know the name.
What time do you guys think you went to bed?
We stayed up well until 10, I would say.
PM?
Yeah.
And they spend the night on this couch fort. You probably thought, why are they putting in evidence about that? Who cares where they slept? This is why it's important. A normal bed, a queen size, is about 5 feet wide. 2 people can sleep there really comfortably and, for the most part, not disturb one another unless you're a rather light sleeper. But Chandler has a problem. He has body parts in the basement of his home, in the freezer. What if Kat gets a hankering for some ice cream and goes in there like she had before? He needs to be able to control her that night. He needs to be able to know if she wakes up and where she goes if she does. So he builds this, a thing that has walls where you really can't get in and out of it gracefully. It's his way to know where she's at. I'm not sure if his girlfriend realizes how lucky she actually is.
The next day, did you stay there or did you leave?
I left.
Early?
Very early.
Camera showed you leaving about 6:55. Would that be about right?
Yes.
You're texting Chandler in the morning. First one, 7:32. You say breakfast burrito. What was this in reference to?
What we were going to eat when he came over later.
Something you were going to make or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. you read his message for us?
Sounds good. I'm doing shit kind of slowly, to be honest. I'm kind of sore.
It's at 7:46. You say, I could have helped you this morning?
Yes.
What was that in reference to?
Doing his chores.
Did he ask you to help him?
No.
And why did you send that message that you would have helped him?
Since I thought he was having a hard time with his legs and the injury, I could have helped him get it done easier and it wouldn't have been as hard for him.
He responds, 7:47. Can you read his response?
Yeah, I know. I'll be right back. Going to the dump.
Read your response to that at 7:48.
B, did you load the car by yourself? You can barely walk. I should have at least helped you with that.
Chandler tell you when he was taken to the dump?
I don't remember.
At some point he texts you, though, at 7:49. What does he say?
Never mind, it's closed.
And you reference it's the holiday weekend.
Correct.
At 7:47 a.m., Chandler is once again up and leaving the house, headed for Roxbury. How do we know that he's headed for Roxbury? His Snapchat shows him there. Kat kind of keeps track of Chandler's location, and they snap each other all the time. She finds him there. His phone also puts him there. And he's quite close to where the remains were found. We also know that is an area he frequented. That's a picture of him about a year before, standing there with a knife. And that white tent in the background, that's where they found Mom's legs.
At some point, there's a series of messages from you, and then this one comes at 8:38. What do you say there?
Hey, did you pass out?
That's a question mark. Why would you send a message like that, or why did you send a message like that?
I was worried because of the head injury. If he's overexerting himself, he might push himself too hard and pass out.
Okay. And you had sent him a series of messages that he hadn't responded to. Correct?
Correct.
At some point that day, after you left, did you notice that Chandler was in a... Did you look at his Snapchat map to look at where he was?
Yes.
And did you become worried or concerned in some way?
Yes.
Showing it's been marked as exhibit number 532. What is that?
A screenshot of Chandler by the Wisconsin River.
And how's he labeled? What's his name there?
Hubby.
And what time is that?
8:58.
Okay. I think previously I said the second. I meant the third. We're now into Saturday. But was this taken on Saturday morning?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you take this screenshot of Chandler's location?
I didn't know why he was there, and so I was curious.
Did you know where this location was?
Yes.
And how did you know where this location was?
I'd been there before with Chandler.
Tell us about it.
It's a little spot where we can park our car and walk down to the Wisconsin River for swimming.
Yeah, what did you do when you saw that location? You took a screenshot. Did you do anything else with that information?
I asked him what he was doing there.
And what did he respond?
He was going to pick up CBD and he was passing through there.
He was passing through. Did you try to call him?
Yes.
Were you able to talk to him?
Yes.
Do you recall anything else from that conversation about what he said or why he was where he was?
He was picking up CBD for the pain. He didn't want to tell me that he was picking up CBD because he was scared I was going to be disappointed in him.
The rest of that day, July 3rd, I think you had mentioned that there was some plans to meet up later, fireworks, something like that.
Yes.
Tell me about that. You went to some fireworks?
Yes, I went to see fireworks with my brother and a friend of his.
Did Chandler go with you?
No.
Did you see Chandler again that day?
Yes, he stopped by to eat and we watched some TV together and then he left before my brother came home.
Okay. Was that your house or your mom's house?
My mom's home.
How was he acting that day?
Tired. Exhausted.
That night, though, we know he leaves his house at 10:08 p.m. And we know he goes up to Portage along the Wisconsin River. From his house to Portage and back. He's up in the Portage area from at least 10:37 p.m. to 11:03 p.m. Portage is along the Wisconsin River. We tried to search that area. The Wisconsin River has a very strong current. People drown there every year, and we never find their bodies, and their bodies are whole. They attempted a dive. It was unsafe. We didn't find any evidence there. But I think in the totality of the circumstances, that wasn't a nighttime trip to go swimming. We know he returns at 11:30 p.m.
In the morning, I'm a little worried about my family. I think I called my mom. Oh, throughout I've called, I don't know the times though. Throughout the weekend, I mean. But I called my mom, I believe, in the morning. There's along those lines, and I get a text from her. It was a text message. It wasn't even my message, so I assumed. She said White Lake today, so she sent it that day. I couldn't figure out where she was because it was a text. There was no iMessage, so I kind of just like left it at that. They're safe. They're alive.
So while you're up at the cottage, are you worried about what's going on?
A little bit. And then I got a text from Chaz saying that his mom and dad were fine. They made it up to the cottage and they were going to the parade.
Okay.
In Langlade. Sure. Or, well, sorry, White Lake, I believe was his comment to me. And I was like, oh, okay. He said he had gotten a text from her. So I was like, that made me feel a little better. Like, okay, no big deal.
Okay. Now, when I started with that calendar a while ago, and they said the police were initially thrown off because of one thing, and that was this text message from Krista. And it's real. I'll tell you, that text message is in all the search warrant returns from US Cellular. It's on the phone that we were able to search. We're not able to search every phone, but some of them are. Made it safely. Can't get anything through, though. Yes, it's packed. Going to White Lake today for the parade. Be home Monday night, Tuesday. Love you lots. Sent on the 4th of July. So the police started looking into that. And the first thing they found was White Lake. The parade was on July 3rd. Remember, the 4th of July this year was on a Sunday. So everyone celebrated on Saturday. So they started thinking, well, how the hell did this message get sent? So they searched the Halderson home, where Chandler was. And in the garage, under a shelf, in a shoe, wrapped in aluminum foil, was his mother's phone, along with her driver's license. Police would later subpoena the records from US Cellular, the cell phone carrier that covers Chandler and the family. And they would look into what cell towers were being used when that message was sent. That message on July 4th, Krista there is in pink, Chandler's in green. The message was sent from the Halderson home on July 4th. Chandler sent it to himself.
Then gets to the afternoon. I'm talking to Dan. I call him up and I ask him, well, what he's doing. or maybe that was the morning, but I called Dan that Sunday, asked him what he's up to, if he wanted to hang out.
He called me Sunday afternoon when we were at the racetrack in Beloit, or South Beloit.
What was the nature of the call, or why did he call you?
He wanted to see what we were doing, said he was bored and wanted to hang out.
Okay. Did you guys make plans?
Yeah, I told him that we were going to be at the racetrack, and when we got back, we would let him know. And we were going to be out in the street with some of the other neighbors and doing 4th of July things.
So you met her Sunday about noon. What'd you guys do at her place?
Well, she realized my legs, I wouldn't be able to do stuff with them. So her brother, and her brother's date went to a thrift store while she had me sleep. She just put me to bed and they went. And then they get home around 2:30. Kat and I rush back to my house, let the girls out, and we go back straight to the farm.
Okay. There was a plan to go to the farm.
Yes.
Who all went to the farm that day for the 4th of July?
Chandler, myself, my brother, and his friends all went, but my mother, Cress, and Mike and Papa were there as well.
When you got to the farm, were you with Chandler most of the time?
Yes.
Did you walk around the property at all?
Yes, but not very far since he couldn't walk.
What kind of things did you talk about while you and Chandler were walking, whatever distance you did around the property?
About how far back the property goes, which I talk about often with people. The wildflowers.
When you say how far back the property goes, what do you mean by that?
Whenever I bring people there, I generally point out where our property line ends.
To your knowledge, had Chandler ever been there alone?
Not before then.
And had he been there often with you prior to this?
Yes.
That night, the 4th of July, you're at the farm. What type of things do you do in general at the farm that night?
We walked to the chicken coop to see the chickens. We ate with my family. We did a little walk up to the pool, and then we later swam in the pool.
Did Chandler get in the pool?
Yes.
We ate, and we were waiting that the kids will be going and use the pool, and then went and used the pool, actually. Just happy that the kids weren't home.
How did Mr. Halderson behave on that day?
Well, he kind of seemed a lot not like himself. If that
Can
makes
you
sense.
describe that? What do you mean by that?
He just seemed kind of off, like kind of weird, actually.
Okay.
I mean, I remember asking him how he felt, because he just kind of seemed.
Okay. You asked him how he felt. What did you remember how he responded?
Yeah, he just said, "Oh, I'm doing okay, or I'm doing the best that I can," and because he had an accident, he fell down the stairs or something. So I thought maybe it was because of the accident that he was acting off.
Did you have any one-on-one conversations with Chandler on July 4th?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, shortly after he was done eating, the kids were sitting at the table in my family room, and they'd gotten up, and I was kind of walking towards the kitchen, and he approached me and asked me if he could have my phone number, my personal phone number, because he wanted to know if he could come and use the pool.
Okay. Did you give him your number?
Yeah, I gave him my cell number, and I also gave him my landline.
Where'd you guys go for a swim?
There's like a little pool up at the Cress's house.
Oh,
She's been
she has a
helping me
pool.
with my walking and everything, and they get me there.
Okay. Is it indoor or outdoor?
Outdoor.
It must have been nice with how hot it has been.
Yeah, they got something fancy to heat it from the sun.
Okay.
But that was the three of us.
Yeah.
And we went back to around 6, no, later, maybe 7. We went back to Kat's apartment, dropped off Rose, got Kat's dirty or wet clothes. She had wet clothes because she was going to dry them. And we went to my house together. We feed the girls. We put her clothes that she brought, the wet stuff, in the dryer because that's what she needed to do.
Did you and Chandler do anything else that night once you got back over to the Halderson place?
We put my clothes in the dryer and then went to his mom's coworker's home, Dan.
So does Mr. Halderson come over to your house on July 4th?
Yes, I believe shortly after 8:30.
Does he come alone? Does he bring someone or something else?
He brings his girlfriend, Kat, which we were aware that she was coming.
And what did you guys do?
We did some fireworks in the street, and I believe she had a drink. My girlfriend and I had a couple of drinks and just kind of hung out in the driveway.
We find a firework that it spins and takes off, and it went straight to the bush. So we were like, no more of that. We're done.
Did it light the bush on fire?
No, thankfully it wasn't hot enough for that.
Good.
After that, we cleaned. I gave him a bottle of wine as a thank you for letting us come. Thankfully, I still have a couple bottles at home. While we're there, Dan had a few beers. His girlfriend was there, or fiance, or wife.
Okay. Anybody else there?
Just the two of us, and then the neighbors watched. One to our left and one across the street. One group. The one across the street had some cooler stuff than I've ever seen a person be able to own, firework-wise. But there we are, and then someone in the distance, kind of closer to our house, launched a mortar, artillery firework, and then I was like, okay, we have to go home for the dogs, so we went, and that was pushing 9:30, 9:45. We got home. We got into the couch fort. And put on Daybreak, was the apocalypse show. Daybreak. Put on that because we were trying to finish it.
On Netflix?
Yes. This is Kat and I still.
Yeah.
She was spending the night. The whole time, dogs are pushing me, nosing me, and everything. And so we kind of stop and stop watching, and she goes to bed. I'm trying to let the dogs out, or at least go back in a little bit. But the fireworks, they couldn't. We get to bed upstairs in my room because she doesn't like the couch, and she had work in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's 10-ish, 10:30, and the whole time the younger dog keeps jumping on us. So I leave Kat in the bed and I go sit out down in the couches and chairs down by the real dinner table. I go sit there and just hang out with the dogs so Kat can get to sleep.
That night, did you sleep in the couch fort again or somewhere else?
on the bed in his room.
Why, was there any discussion with Chandler about why now it's okay to sleep in the bed versus on the couch for it?
The couch was bothering my back.
That night, was it a peaceful night's sleep and both in the bed, or was it restless a little bit?
It was restless.
Tell me about that.
The dogs were freaking out with the fireworks. At one point, Izzy, the older dog, who's around 15, fell down the stairs. And it was hard to keep them calm with all the fireworks going off.
What did Chandler do when the dog fell down the stairs?
When she fell down the stairs, he laid down with her and was making sure she was okay and petting her.
What were your plans the next day?
To go to work.
Back to Monday, so now it's a weekday, right?
Yes.
So you woke up and you left for work early, I would imagine?
Yes.
Then it's Monday morning. Cat goes to work 7:50-ish, or maybe earlier.
It looks like it would have been Monday. What would that have been? Monday the 5th?
Okay. And what was the nature of that interaction?
He was just saying that his family was going to be another day late and to ask if I could request another day off for her.
Okay. And did you, in fact, communicate with your work?
Yeah, I told my boss, Curtis.
Okay.
In general, you're texting about work life, your work, frustrations maybe?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, as far as you knew, were you going to be at this job that you were at long term?
I was under the impression I would leave in August.
And where were you going to go?
Down to Florida.
11:30 on the 5th, what does Chandler text you?
Don't piss them off till we know for sure we are moving.
And you respond, I won't.
Correct.
So we're still on that day, July 5th. But we're in the afternoon, and you text me. Can you read that last one?
Text me when you get to your appointment.
And we're about 1:30, aren't we? Can
Yes.
you read what Chandler says?
Either way, you and me are going to be happy.
You say?
Very true.
And then at 2 o'clock, 2:01 exactly, Chandler says what?
Made it a bit ago and checked in
What was your understanding of where he had gone?
to the location that I had screenshotted for his appointment.
And why again did you take this screenshot for Chandler's appointment?
Because I was trying to leave work early to be able to take him myself.
But you didn't take him that day, did you?
No.
You ask him about what you're doing later, 2:19, but then Chandler sends you a message. What does that say?
Just need you to know because I have horrible reception.
Your understanding at that time is that he was at the UW Health Hospital on Science Drive, or the clinic.
Correct.
You respond, okay. Then what do you say there?
Do they not, I meant to say, do they not have Wi-Fi?
Okay. What do you say after that?
We can snap if that's easier.
Why would that be easier?
Because they generally have Wi-Fi at all UW Health clinics. And so if he doesn't have reception on his phone, we could still snap with the Wi-Fi.
At 2:23, after arriving at the doctor, what does Chandler say to you?
No connection to even load Snapchat. And no Wi-Fi. But I can still get your iMessages.
In fact, what do you say to Chandler at 2:24?
Weird, they all have it. Have it. But maybe it's your carrier.
So at 3:25, maybe an hour into this, after the bad service, Chandler texts you. Can you read these for me?
Hi, hun. Heading home. They took an x-ray and a CT scan. Nothing bad on the x-ray.
But after Chandler says nothing bad on the x-ray, just read kind of what you responded.
Florida.
And what'd you say?
Let me see face.
What does that mean to you guys?
Generally, when we miss each other, we'll ask to see face, which means we'll send each other a Snapchat of our face.
After you ask to see his face, how does Chandler respond?
CT scan, hun.
You ask him what was on it. No bad news. Can you read his response to you?
They haven't determined anything. Both my legs like they were, and all. I gotta wait to hear what they determined.
Can you read your first response to that?
I mean, soreness and stiffness is normal after whiplash and an accident,
And the next one.
especially with how much your fam wouldn't let you move around your house.
You read his response at 3:28.
No need to be worried. Just gotta wait.
And next one.
FaceTime when you get off.
Shortly thereafter, you say, so we're not worried. And read his response for us, if you could.
I am.
Meaning he's worried.
Yes.
And your response?
They're sure you're fine.
Chandler never went to any doctor's appointment. He's at home, sending these text messages to his girlfriend, keeping up his ruse.
At 4:19 on Monday, July 5th, you read what Chandler sent to you?
I think so. I'm calling Cress. I need some time up at the water.
And you say, okay.
Correct.
What's that in reference to, just so everyone's on the same page?
So that you can go up to the farm and use the pool.
Now, later that day, did you find out that he actually had attempted to contact you prior to coming to your property?
Yeah, later, I remember seeing the message was blinking on my landline. And so I pressed it, and then a name came up, and I didn't know I didn't recognize the name, and then I heard Chandler's voice. So he had left me a message, but I didn't realize it until after he'd come and gone, and I listened to it later. Right there.
Hi, Chris, this is Chandler. I just got back with some pretty terrible news from my doctor, so I was wondering if I could come by. Just, I don't know, take a couple laps to the pool or hang out, something. I'm not having the most ideal day, I suppose. So call me back, 920-838-4549. Thank you. Bye.
Monday, 4:25 p.m.
Did you talk to Chandler? In your recollection, do you have any recollection if you talked to Chandler while he was on his way out to the farm?
Yes.
What was he talking about?
About how he wants to use the pool, and if I knew if Cress was home, and if I could get a hold of her.
Did you have any interactions with Chandler on Monday, July 5th?
Yes.
What's the first interaction you had with Chandler on that day?
Oh, the first interaction was I opened up my window. I live in a two-story, and I saw a car in my driveway. I came in from outside to get a drink of water, and I saw a car, and I didn't recognize the car. And someone was standing in my driveway, and it was Chandler. So I
Okay.
opened the window because he was kind of standing holding his phone and looking around. And so I opened the window, and I asked him if he was okay. And he said, yeah. And I said, are you here to use the pool? And he said, yeah, would that be all right? And I said, yeah, sure.
Were you expecting Chandler that day?
No.
So what happened after you told Chandler he could use the pool?
Well, he drove up, because if you come, I live on a hill, and when you come to the driveway, it's kind of in the middle of the hill, and so you have to drive further up the hill to where the pool is. So he drove up there, and he'd come walking down that hill. and then we had a conversation.
What did you guys talk about?
Well, he was telling me about his accident. He said he was at a doctor's appointment, and so he was talking to me about what the doctor had said and what was going on.
And did he elaborate on what that damage was?
Well, he said it wasn't good, that they might have to do some surgery or something, and that he said he was having trouble like with numbers, and he said he got lost, he had to use a GPS. He's just like said his mind was kind of messed up and wasn't thinking so well.
Okay. Did you guys discuss anything besides just his physical health?
Yeah, I asked him, you know, how he was, you know, overall doing, and about his job, because he said he was getting a new job in Florida, and I asked him about that, and
What did he say?
Well, he said that he probably wasn't going to get the job, that some manager had told him that it wasn't going to work out because of his injury, that he wasn't able to work. And then I asked him about maybe he could go back to American Family, and he said no, he didn't. He said that wouldn't happen, he wouldn't be able to do that. So he seemed concerned about, you know, maybe not having a job and what was he going to kind of do. And I asked him, you know, would he talk to his parents? You know, maybe could he talk to them, or, you know, things like that, just to try to reassure him, because he just seemed upset about this news that he had gotten from the doctor.
Sure. And what did he respond to that?
He said, no, they're still up north. And I just says, well, you know, maybe it would help you to talk to him. And his response is, he says, no, they'll just be mad. And which seemed odd to me, why his parents would be upset with him, that he was hurt and couldn't work. You know, it just seemed odd to me.
Okay.
So you drive out to the farm. You flew out there, I think you said.
Yes, because I was worried that Chandler will had the shock of his life seeing my partner.
What happened after the conversation?
Well, I'm trying to remember, Dulce showed up. She'd come, I wasn't expecting her, but she had come to the house, and she came through the house. We were sitting on the deck, and she came and was like, what's going on? And I said, oh, well, I'm just chatting with Chandler here, and I guess he doesn't have such good news. And then she came out and sat down and asked what was going on, and then we started to kind of go back over what him and I had talked about to explain to her what was happening.
When you get there, do you talk to your partner, Cress?
When I got there, it was Chandler and Chris talking on the porch.
You know what they were talking about? Did you overhear it?
Well, I opened the door, and Chandler looked like sad, kind of sleepy, like, you know, those, like, I don't know. He did not look okay to me, but I didn't hear what they were talking until Chris says there was some news.
I did go for the afternoon. I did go to the farm to talk to Cress and Kat's mom. I told them what's happening with my health because I had the appointment at 2.
Did you go to the farm before or after?
After, because I told them what happened to me. And I told them the legs are probably going to be permanent and the headaches should be fixed after the hemorrhage is cleared a little bit.
Okay. There was some news. Do you know what the news was? Did you hear Chandler talk about it? What was that news?
That he didn't get a job.
Which job?
The one in Florida.
Okay. Do you know why he didn't get that job?
Because he couldn't. He was supposed to be there, but his brother got sick, so he couldn't go. And the next time, he fell and couldn't go, and I think they couldn't hold the job anymore because he can't go. He couldn't fly to Florida.
Because of the fall?
The concussion, his concussion was really bad.
So now that I'm there, I talked to their mom and Crest together. And I think Kat's mom is all right with me. I don't know, she wants me to move into the east side, Kat's house, and start paying rent as an apartment because she doesn't like that I live at home.
What did Chandler ask to do, or what happened next at the farm?
Well, we were very supportive. We were like, he lost a good job, and I was worried about him putting on money for the apartment, and Chris and I were trying to find out how can we help him because he looked really, really like down and.
Did you all stay together, or did at some point Chandler go somewhere else on the farm?
We were talking, and then after that, he basically excused himself to go swimming.
Okay. And did he go by himself, or did you go with him at that point?
No, he went by himself.
Okay.
So I'm there talking to their mom and Crest. Then I go up to have, a breakdown by their shed, and they go swimming.
Describe your breakdown to me.
I actually cried. Started kicking grass, just doing the toddler tantrum shit.
But what kind of happened next in the events of?
Well, then
that
he
day?
went to go use the pool, because before he'd come down and I'd asked him, how was the pool? He didn't answer, and so he said he was going to go back to use the pool. And then Dulcie and I continued to talk because we just felt something was a little odd, so we were concerned, and her and I had a conversation about him of what was going on.
Okay, and then what happened after that?
Well, I kind of got irritated. It was so hot, and I wanted to go swimming, and I was waiting for him to be done using the pool so I could go jump in the pool. And so I was getting impatient and waiting, wondering what was taking him so long. So I said, look, I'm going to go get in the pool. I'm done. I'm hot, and I'm tired, and I want to go cool off. And she said, okay. So she went to go get her suit, and then her and I have this little riding lawnmower. And so we got on the riding lawnmower to go up to tell him, hey, we're going to go swimming now.
How long do you think it was before you went down to check on Chandler at the pool?
I don't know, probably half an hour maybe, or a little bit longer, because I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But
Did you go alone, or did you and Crest go together?
no, we got together. Oh yeah, of course.
And how did you get down to that area?
We use a little car where we mow the lawn.
A lawnmower?
Yeah, lawnmower. So I basically inherited the lawnmower that Papa used to use, and so we, like a two grannies going to.
You were both on the lawnmower?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And did you drive down toward the pool?
Well, we drove to the pool. Yes.
And when we got up there, he wasn't in the pool, and the cover was still on the pool. And
Okay, so hold on. The pool has a cover.
yeah, I have like a solar. It heats up. It helps get the water warm, so it just lays flat on the top.
Sure.
So it's got like a little bubble.
And obviously you have to remove said cover to get into the pool.
Yeah, there's times I got lazy where I could fold it over just to get in, but I usually like to take it off so I could have the whole
Was it
pool.
folded over so somebody could get in at all?
No.
All right. So the covers on the pool, is Chandler in sight when you're over by the pool?
No.
So what do you do next?
Well, when we drove up and you could kind of see no one was in the pool, and I didn't see, I was looking for him, and then when I looked to my right, when we came up the hill, I had the doors open in the shed, and I could see through the shed that his car was parked on the other side of the shed.
Well, we went to the pool. It's on a little hill. So we went and we didn't see Chandler swimming. We didn't see anything. So we turned right and, we saw the car and I thought he was sleeping.
How about if you could you point, where's the driveway meet the road? Where's the entrance to the farm?
Right over here.
Follow it all the way down and right there? All right, I'll hold on to this. And where's the house? Can you point to that?
Oh, right here.
You can kind of see the roof.
Yes. Okay. That is the house. This is the other shed.
And where's the pool that we're talking about? Okay. Now, if you could, kind of standing off to the side so these folks can see you, if you could point to, maybe just take your finger and trace the way that you drove down to the pool on that lawnmower.
We always drove this way.
Okay. And the pool is here. Where did you say you saw Chandler's car?
Oh, about right here.
Well, yeah, because we go and he's not in the pool and we see the car and then I'm like, what the heck is going on? What is he doing? And I said, well, I'm going to go over and Dulcie was like, we were like, what's he doing? What is going on?
Sure.
So we drove over to see if he was in the back of the car. Was he sleeping? What was he doing? Was he smoking weed or something? We didn't know. So we drove over there and with the mower and approached, and I drove to the back of the car because the back end was backed towards me.
So you saw the car, you said the back was open, and you saw maybe a ramp type thing. Did you see Chandler in that car?
No. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
No.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
There we go.
Sorry. No.
Chandler wasn't in the car?
No.
At that time, when you're looking at the car, did you see where Chandler was right then?
No.
Did you know where Chandler was?
No.
What did you and Crest do?
But she was upset.
Okay. And at this point, you see the car, it's empty, or there's no Chandler in it. Do you see Chandler anywhere on your property?
No, because then we stopped and we're like, what the heck? We're looking around. What's he doing? Where is he? And Dulcie was kind of upset at that moment because she's thinking maybe he's doing drugs or something. She was really upset, thinking, well, he's doing drugs or something. What the hell's he doing? So I said, I don't know, but I'm done. I'm going to get in the pool. I just was hot and irritated and just didn't want to deal with it. And so I said, I'm going to the pool. So we left and drove and parked the mower by the pool.
We went to the pool.
Okay. You jumped in the pool?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it just you and Crest in the pool?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At some point while you were in the pool, did you see Chandler or figure out where Chandler was?
No, he was coming to the pool.
Okay. You saw him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was he kind of coming from that area?
Yeah, he was walking like that direction, like towards that way, yeah, coming
All
that
right.
way.
And his car was here, but he walked past his car, you said?
Yes.
And then walked over by the pool?
Right.
Okay. Do you remember what he was wearing?
Like baggy shorts. He had a shirt on, I thought, before, and when he came back, he didn't have a shirt.
So when he was approaching the pool, coming out of the wooded area, no shirt?
Right.
Okay.
What did Chandler do? You saw him coming. Where did he go, or what did he do?
He asked if he can get in the pool with us.
And what did you say?
I was like, I was like, no.
No?
But I say it myself, no.
Why?
Because Chris didn't have clothes on the top.
She didn't have a top on. Okay. Did Chandler, what happened next? Did Chandler go away? Did he get in the pool? What happened?
He got in the pool.
All right, so he's approaching the pool. Does he actually get up to the pool?
Yeah, he came up to the pool. And I said, hey, Chandler, I don't have a shirt on.
Sure.
Because I go shirtless in my pool. That's kind of why I was waiting for him to leave, because I wanted to have the privacy to get in my pool.
Sure. Okay. You tell him you don't have a shirt on. What happens next?
And he said, well, if it would be all right, I'd like to get in the pool. I'm kind of sticky and I'm hot. And I remember looking at Dulce because I want to be respectful. And I said, well, I don't have a problem with it, Dulce, if you don't. And she just kind of was shrugged and, I kind of could tell she didn't really like it, but she just kind of turned and was sort of like, whatever. And so I said, okay. And so then I kind of turned and he got in the pool. And he went to the east side of the pool and we kind of went to the west side of the pool.
Okay, and was he actively swimming or something
No,
else?
he just kind of dipped up and down and kind of was like washing, like himself off. He said it was kind of scratchy on his walk and it was itchy and sticky, so he was kind of like.
So you did a motion with your hands,
Yeah,
and
like
you
he
said the
kinda
word wash.
Yeah, like he'd dunk down and then he'd kind of like, be doing like this and dunk down and kind of.
Okay, kind of washing himself, rinsing himself off.
Yeah, and then it was odd because he just seemed really different when he got in the pool from when he was talking to us before.
Different how?
Well, he seemed more lucid, like he just seemed more present.
Then I hopped in the water with them. Okay. So it was too late. I was in the water and I realized Chris didn't have a top. Okay. And that was uncomfortable.
What did Chandler do once he got in the pool?
He was just, he was looking, he was looking to the horizon.
Okay. And was he in the water?
Yes.
What was he doing in the water physically? Was he moving around? Was he swimming?
He was like going underwater and, putting on water on his body and,
So staring off kind of through that field toward the horizon and
yes, because Chris is behind me and I put my body to kind of shield her but Chandler was looking to the horizon. Okay. And then he turned around and then he was getting more underwater and, he was like underwater. Like.
Okay. Was he saying anything?
Not much. Okay. The water was nice and warm, but.
What happened next?
Well, then Dulce was starting to ask him questions because I think she was concerned maybe he was doing some drugs, and I think she just wanted to sort of see if he was. So she started asking him questions and things like that to see how he would respond. Because while he was gone and we were in the pool, that's what she spoke to me mostly about, is what's going on with him. I'm worried. I don't know why he's acting this way. What's he doing?
Oh, okay, we're sitting in the pool, we're hanging out. They're just talking to me. Sometimes they're being nice, sometimes they're like making the offer, like, hey, if you move in, you can pay rent. This is a good neighborhood.
Did he tell you anything at all about what he was going to do next or what his plans were that day?
Yes, he was going to my place because Catherine was making his favorite. And we asked what was his favorite. and he says McDonald's.
He's going to go get McDonald's.
McDonald's. And I say, Catherine is a lazy. She should not make McDonald's.
You thought your daughter would cook something better.
I'm like, yeah. I mean, they always cook good food in the house.
Sure.
How long was Chandler in the pool?
Oh, maybe 15 minutes-ish, roughly.
All right. And at some point, does he get out of the pool first, or do you?
He got out first. He said he was in a hurry. He had to go. That Catherine was getting dinner or something, and so he was like on a mission and had to like, let's go, and he got out and went to the car and drove off.
Do you know how it ended? Did everyone get out at the same time, or did
No.
How did it end with Chandler at least being there?
Chandler, after Chandler, went and swim for a little bit. He didn't swim because he didn't even wet his hair. After he went and just splashed himself, then he get out of the pool and then I feel more comfortable, and so.
Chandler left at that point?
Yes. Well, he has to go back to pick up his car.
Sure. And did you see him after that, or did he leave at that point, after he got his car?
No, he just went, got his car, and then drove off, and we just waved him. We was very happy that he came, but which was strange because Catherine wasn't with him, but.
And then they're like, well, appreciate you stopping by. So I head out and I go, it was Monday afternoon, I go to dinner at Kat's house on the east side. And then she's planning on feeding me.
Did you see Chandler that night after he left the farm?
Yes,
Where?
at my mom's home.
Did he say anything to you, or do you remember anything about that night?
I remember him telling me he lost the job at SpaceX.
Did he say why he lost the job at SpaceX?
He said while he was working after the injury, they found a lot of errors with what he was doing, and it was like a page long or something like that. And so they were letting him go.
Okay. When you say letting him go, were you under the impression that Chandler had actually started working at SpaceX?
Yes,
And remotely, or how did that work?
remotely.
But he told you he was losing that job that day.
Yes,
Did he talk to you about his doctor's appointment that day?
yes.
What did he say about that?
He was gonna have lifelong leg numbness.
Lifelong leg numbness?
Yes.
How was he acting when he told you he'd lost the job at SpaceX?
Sad. Just down.
I think we just eat and cuddle a little bit.
Okay.
When I go home.
Early in the morning of the 6th, we see the fireplace burning more. Not as great as before, but some burning. We also see that garage light go on and off, on and off. I think it's a total of 7 times, Deputy Wilk. And that's throughout the night. And we know at 4:30 that morning, Chandler leaves and goes into Madison. We know he goes into Madison from his phone records. We don't know what he did there, but we do know it was a trip that started out in the dark. We know he didn't have a job. And we know Madison's surrounded by lakes. Use your common sense.
I got a coffee at a Quick Trip one day. Well, I think that could have been Tuesday morning.
Okay.
At Quick Trip, I got a coffee, and I used my dad's number at a Quick Trip to get me the free one because it was the
Rewards.
Group of Gold.
Yep.
I could have afforded it, but there's a free one, and it's Tuesday, or it was a Monday. I could have gotten a $1 one, but it was full price, I believe, and I grabbed the coffee because it was a free one. He hasn't used it for weeks, so I grabbed that at a Quick Trip. I couldn't tell you which one. I was just driving at that point.
When you use it's a rewards card is what they call it, right?
Yeah.
You just enter his phone number or
Type
something.
it. You type it.
Okay.
But I got a coffee. Had to be, I'm assuming, Tuesday. And I got a free one.
Sweet.
It was terrible.
Oh, it was?
I wanted to try Group of Gold.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
On July 6, 2021, around 9, no, we're into Tuesday in the afternoon, what do you say to him?
Parents home?
What did that mean to you?
Are your parents home?
Had you discussed with Chandler, like, where are your parents before this message was sent? Was this a follow-up, or was this the first kind of time you were asking?
Follow up?
Okay. And was that a verbal conversation where you were asking him where they were?
Yes.
Okay. What did he tell you in that verbal conversation?
There's poor reception up north and by the cabin, so that's why he had been hearing from them.
Okay. So you say parents home. Go ahead and read Chandler's response. 9:05.
No.
What do you say?
Text Mitch.
Mitch is his brother.
Correct.
Why'd you think you should text Mitch?
His parents still weren't home at the time they said they would be, and he wasn't receiving many messages from his mother that weekend, and that was highly unusual since she texts quite often.
Dan is worried about my mom on Tuesday, I think.
Did he call
I
or
said
text
no,
her?
no word. My mom. I don't know if he called or texted.
Okay.
I think he just contacted. That's what I can think of.
Reached out.
Yeah, he reached out. Then I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday morning. They should be here.
On Tuesday, July 6th, did you have any communication with Chandler?
Yes, I was following up with him because she was supposed to have a doctor's appointment that day that she was really looking forward to, and was expecting them to be back for sure for that event. So it looks like I texted 9:23 that morning to have Krista call us as soon as they get back into town.
And of course, you didn't get a call from Krista.
Correct.
Then I started trying to get the glass, because I've been a little lazy on the glass. I just kind of had chairs in front of it. I broom and, the little sweeper holder, you broom it into that.
Dustpan.
Yeah. And I'm tossing the glass into recycling. I get most of it. There's a bunch in the cracks of the stone that I'm picking out by hand. I think I didn't injure myself from that, but just yeah. Just my blood was kind of on the floor, so I got the Swiffer I borrowed from Kat, from the foot. I borrowed a Swiffer to mop. I Swiffered the floor, like not the stone, but the floor. And then I got a little bit in the kitchen. And then everywhere kind of I walked, pretty much. The bathroom, the kitchen, and then I couldn't get the carpet, so I still stained that up a little crappy.
Where was their carpet at?
The stairs between basement and kitchen.
Carpet. Oh, that's right.
Carpet stays. I tried. I can't get it out. I don't know how to do that, but then all the way up to the laundry room where I found my first aid kit. I just tried to stop all the bleeding, but it wouldn't stop. So
And that blood was all coming from your left foot.
Yeah, left foot hole.
Left foot hole.
Yeah. That's Tuesday. Wings. I go to Cats.
Oh, okay.
We had wings.
What time?
That could have been. I've been doing the BS of first aid and all of that. I go to Kat's house with her mom and her brother. That could have been 5 or 6. I can't give you the exact.
Did you guys pick up the wings and go there, or?
No, I drove to Kat's. Straight there. Kat and I, the two of us, in my car, we go to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Well, it was Tuesday, so we have beat-ups.
Sure. Is that your normal thing?
Yeah,
You have some Buffalo Wild Wings that day?
yeah.
That's a family thing.
Yes, Chandler, James, and Catherine and I, we like beat-ups. So we always buy what my son likes, what Catherine likes, what Chandler likes, and what I like. And it's just the 4 of us.
And that was on Tuesday?
Yes.
Because it's buy one, get one free, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I think so too. And you've mentioned James a couple times. James is your son.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
And this was at your house?
Yes.
Okay. What'd you do in the evening?
He came over to my mom's house because on Tuesdays we do Buffalo Wild Wings, the BOGO deal on their traditional wings, and we watch Legally Blonde.
Okay.
We go to Cats, we eat. We watch this movie, Pretty in Pink or something. It's about a girl that likes fashion and goes to Harvard. So,
Is that on Netflix or just normal TV?
they have like everything there. I didn't know.
Alright, so you ate the wings at Cats, watch Pretty in Pink.
Yeah, it is a mom's choice. But,
Did Chandler say anything to you when you guys were doing the Buffalo Wild Wings night about his parents or where they were?
He was just worried because he wasn't here from his parents yet.
Okay. Did he tell you anything more about that?
No.
How was he acting on this day?
Tired. Sad in a way, maybe.
Okay. At some point, did you find out that Bart and Krista Halderson were missing? Like the people were looking for them and they didn't know where they were?
Well, 2 times it was brought up that they were missing. And on Tuesday, I questioned myself how they're missing. And I questioned saying, I will say that I didn't hear from my parents, or my parents hasn't called me, or I would not say missing unless I know they were missing.
the 4 of us, we all ate.
Okay.
And then went upstairs, laid down in her bed for a few minutes.
Just letting the food settle, or hanging out?
Notice she's kind of falling asleep. So I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get out of here. And I go home.
He called me on Wednesday and said, Mom and Dad haven't come home. And I was like, what? He's like, and I haven't heard from them. And I'm like, did you call them? And he's like, yeah, I've tried. I'm like, okay. At that point, he asked me what he should do. And I said, call the police, have them go over, do a well check on the cottage. And he's like, okay. I called him back a little later and I said, did you call? And he's like, no, I can't find the number for up there. My husband, knowing me, he's like, all right, we're going to get in the car. We're just going to drive over there. I asked him for the address. He texted it to me so that I could get there.
Sure. And when you say in the call with Chandler that he didn't know the number up there, he didn't know the number to the police?
To the police station? Yeah. Or who to call up there? I mean,
sure.
I don't know. I just thought you could call any police station and they could kind of give you a number or connect you somehow.
Sure.
I guess in my pea brain, that's what I thought.
We could Google it, something like that.
Yeah, or yeah. I mean, there's got to be numbers out there somewhere.
So you decide to take matters into your own hands. You and your husband are going to take a drive.
That's right.
So
we did.
Off you go, 88 miles, and you get to
One
the
way,
cottage.
yep.
What do you find?
There is two like big old like spoked wheels. Like people use them in their outdoor motif all the time. And then there's a birch log across that. And I'm like, I take a picture and I'm like, is this the cottage? And he's like, yeah. And then he's like, haven't you ever been there? And I'm like, no. At this point, I called him on my cell. And I said, Chandler, no one's been here. The grass is like 2 feet tall, well, 16 inches, 2 feet tall. And when you drive over grass, like when we haven't been up to the cottage, it gets pushed over. So you know that somebody's been there. It wasn't pushed over. Okay. It was pretty tall.
So you call Chandler.
I called him back.
Get back in your car, I would imagine, and you're talking to him?
My husband didn't let me go out of the car. He said, you stay in. I'm going to go look. Okay. So I called Chandler back, so I have him on the phone, and I'm like, nobody's been here. And he's like, are the doors unlocked? And I said, no, they're locked from the outside, which I thought was weird because ours has a normal like key lock.
Right.
And he's like, no, that's how it is. I'm like, okay. And he's like, did you check everywhere behind like the boathouse? And I'm like, Uncle Mike's doing that right now. He's like, okay. He's like, did you find anything? And I said, like, what? And I was shocked that he said, any bullet shells or any blood or anything. And I went, what? And he's like, did you find anything? And I'm like, no one's been here. And he's like, okay, what do you think I should do? I'm like, you need to report them as missing. Obviously, they didn't make it here. I don't know how they could go to a parade if they didn't make it here, but whatever. Maybe they stayed somewhere else. I didn't know.
At this point, how worried are you on the spectrum for Krista?
I was getting pretty worried because I knew I had texted her before when she was at her cabin, so I knew that story seemed about fishy. And it was also really rare for her to not be excited about an event like that and to be telling everyone. So we expected, if they were planning to be off, that she would have let us know. She would have let my boss Curtis know well in advance. And it certainly wouldn't be like her to miss a doctor's appointment that she had been looking forward to.
We know the Subaru departs at 9:36 and that Chandler goes to the farm. We know he goes to the farm from both his phone records, but also from this text exchange with Kat.
At some point you ask, 5:38, you ask Chandler, where are you going? Something like that?
Yes.
Okay. He says what?
Farm, but no one here, so leaving.
Okay. When he said farm, what was your understanding of where he was or where he was going?
The family farm.
Where you'd been on the 4th of July?
Yes.
And where Chandler had been on the 5th?
Yes.
You kind of invite him to swim if he needs to.
Yes.
Chandler texts you. What does he say?
I feel weird.
And you
Why?
say what? You say why?
Yes.
10:54, what does Chandler say?
Sorry, I'm stressed, hon.
You say it's okay. You can swim if you need to.
We also know that out in the farm was found a Target bag that had been at Chandler's house. How do we know that? Because it has Kat's name on it from the pickup order of the stuff she brought over to Chandler's house, she testified about. That bag is full of bloody rags. We heard from Chris, those aren't from her house, and Catherine, that those aren't her rags. Chandler took a bag full of bloody rags, disposed of it at the farm, and a bag with Kat's name on it. And those tested positive for blood, but were not suitable for DNA testing. He comes back to his house after being at the farm, and he leaves and he goes and reports his parents missing at the police department.
Can you read the first message we have on here from Chandler on the 7th around 11:22?
Going to police.
What does he say next?
Can I have $5 for a soda and chips?
And what did you respond?
I don't have $5, B.
Going to police, around that time, was there a discussion again of why he was going to the police?
Yes, to report his parents missing.
At this point, what had he told you about his parents being missing? So you knew they were scheduled to come back, but what did you learn since that would cause Chandler to go to the police?
His mom had an appointment for her cancer, and it was very important, so it was very unusual for her to miss that.
Did you have a conversation with Chandler about whether he should or shouldn't make a missing persons report for his parents?
Yes,
What did you tell him?
I said he should. They've been gone for so long and he hasn't heard from them.
On July 7th, 2021, nearly a week after killing his parents, but no one in the world knowing, Chandler Halderson walks into the Northeast Precinct of the Dane County Sheriff's Office and says, "I'd like to file a missing persons report."
And were you working on July 7th of 2021 in your capacity as a deputy?
Yes, I was.
And where were you working that day? Where were you stationed out of?
I'm stationed out of our Northeast Precinct, which is the Village of Windsor Town Hall, and so I cover the northeast area of the county.
And I'd like to draw your attention to around 11:25 a.m. that morning. What occurred at that time?
I had just returned back to the precinct from a previous call, and as I was walking through the doors to the precinct, I noticed behind me it appeared that somebody had been coming up to the doors. So I met them at the door, and at that time had a conversation with an individual.
What did you learn from Mr. Halderson on July 7th, 2021?
When he came to the precinct and spoke to me, he said that he wanted to make a missing persons report.
Okay, and what did he tell you?
He told me that he wanted to report that his parents were missing. I asked who his parents were. He said Bart and Krista Halderson. And I asked where they lived, and he said they lived on Oak Spring Circles, which is in the Village of Windsor.
So in reaction to the information the defendant was telling you, what did you do?
When I heard that they lived in the Village of Windsor, we have a Windsor contract deputy that was working, so I immediately called to see whether or not they were available to come up to take the missing persons report.
Okay, were they available?
They were.
Okay, and who is that?
Deputy Josh Seeley.
I'm going to take you over to July 7th of 2021. That day, were you asked to respond over to the Northeast Precinct for someone referencing a missing persons complaint?
I did, yes.
Another deputy asked you to come over.
Yep, I heard a radio call from Deputy Nelson stating that there was someone at the Northeast Precinct, what we would call a walk-in, and wanted to report a missing persons. So I responded up to the Northeast Precinct to make contact.
Are walk-ins common at the Northeast Precinct?
Not typically, no. Most people call.
This person didn't call?
They did not.
Okay. You went over there?
I did.
And tell me what you found when you got to the Northeast Precinct.
So I walked into the Northeast Precinct, or what we would call the day room. It's where we have our desk and computers. And sitting at the table was a male, who I later identified with Wisconsin driver's license as Chandler Halderson, and Deputy Nelson of the Dane County Sheriff's Office.
What'd you do?
Asked him more or less what was going on, and he proceeded to tell me that he had not had contact with his parents, that they had gone up to their cabin, which is up north in Langley County, and he was concerned.
Sure. Did he give you any details at that time at the Northeast Precinct about who they were with?
He stated that he had left their residence, which is in the Village of Windsor, and had left with friends, and that they had gone up to this cabin to work on a fire pit and a water pump that might have been damaged during a storm.
Did he tell you at that time at the Northeast Precinct what car they were in, or if he knew what car they were in?
He did not mention anything about a car, and he provided some names of people that he might have gone up there, or that they have gone up there with, but he was not for sure who they had gone with.
Sure. After you take this initial statement at the Northeast Precinct, what do you do?
Initially, we released Chandler from the Northeast Precinct, had a conversation with Deputy Nelson, at which point then we drove down to the residence down on Oak Springs in the Village of Windsor, where we again made contact with Chandler.
So after he was interviewed by Deputy Seeley, we determined that probably the best course of action was for us to go back to the residence to kind of check out the residence. So I told Deputy Seeley that I would accompany him back to the residence for that.
When you get to the house, did you go right in, or did you stay outside and talk for a while?
We just briefly made contact with Chandler outside, at which point we were invited inside. And then we continued our conversation and interview inside the residence.
Sure.
So myself and Deputy Seeley had gone into the residence, and at this point, Deputy Seeley was planning on continuing his interviews with him, with Chandler. And I did ask Chandler if we could just walk through the residence real quick. And so he took me upstairs to the second level. We walked through his parents' bedroom so that I could take a look around. And basically, my portion inside the residence of just kind of walking around was the upper level and the main level, which would be the living room, kitchen, and dining room.
He asked us if we wanted to look around the house, at which point I said yes. I believe the first place he took me was upstairs, went up the stairway, pointed out some bedrooms and another room that was off to the left, which I observed was under construction or renovation. So it was down to the studs and insulation. There's nothing else in there except some laundry machines.
Where'd you go next in the house?
After that, we went back down to the main living area, at which point he went partially downstairs. I did not go downstairs, but he did point out a set of couches that had been pushed together. And he stated that he had been sleeping down there because it was closer to a bathroom that was downstairs.
After just observing the home, what did you do next in your portion of the investigation?
So we started asking him whether or not there were any other persons that lived at the house. He said it was just him and his parents. I asked if he had any siblings. He told me he had a brother named Mitchell. So I was able to get Mitchell's contact information, and my plan was to start doing some secondary interviews to determine if anybody had seen Bart or Krista Halderson.
So you go interviewing the brother Mitchell and other people in the circle.
Correct.
What was his demeanor like as he was making these reports to you? How was he acting?
He seemed very matter of fact, just as you would be telling someone about your day. To me, there was no sense of urgency.
Did he cry at any point or anything like that?
He did not.
And when did you first become involved in the Halderson case, the missing person case of Bart and Krista Halderson?
I had received some communication with my partner, Deputy Seeley, prior to the start of my shift on July 7th, stating that he requested that I respond to the Halderson home shortly after checking on. And that's how I became informed and notified of the call.
And about what time was that? Do you remember?
Shortly after 1 p.m.
And do you, in fact, go to the home?
I did go to the residence.
What did you do once you got to the house?
I met Deputy Seeley outside on the front porch, and he just briefly summarized for me the information that he had already gathered.
Okay, then what'd you do?
Deputy Seeley took a phone call And then at that point, I went inside the home and was introduced to Chandler.
And did you end up talking with Mr. Halderson?
I did.
Okay. What, if anything, did Mr. Halderson tell you about his parents being missing?
Well, I was a little hesitant to ask a lot of follow-up questions because I knew Deputy Seeley had already asked him a lot. But in the small talk that we had had, it began with me asking if his parents had had any medical issues.
Okay, and what did you learn?
He told me that his dad, his psoriasis had recently flared up and that he also needed stronger reading glasses. In regards to his mom, he said that the week prior, she had been diagnosed with skin cancer.
At some point, does he talk to you about what his parents took to the cabin?
He did. He told me that he had helped his parents pack on Thursday, July 1st, and that they had packed their own bags for clothing, but he had helped his mom pack her medication, and had also packed for them some tools, also food, phone chargers, and then tools. And when I asked him specifically what tools he had helped pack for them, he said they were all for cabin repairs, and they included a wrench, a hatchet, a bow saw, some additional saw blades, as well as 2 10-gallon containers for gasoline.
Okay. Did he talk to you about any cash or valuables that were packed?
He did. He told me that he was aware that his parents had taken a large sum of cash out of a safe. He did not disclose to me any sort of estimate as to the amount of cash, but that there was a large sum of cash taken from a safe that they took with them, and also a larger than normal amount of alcohol that they took also.
Who, if anyone, did Chandler Halderson say picked up his parents?
He claimed that he did not know the couple that picked them up. He said, and I asked a variety of ways multiple times, trying to determine if we could figure out who these people were. And he claimed that he had also asked his parents on Thursday the 1st who these friends were that he was going with, and they were not direct with him and never told him the friends that they were going up to the cabin with.
Did Chandler Halderson give you any information about the time his parents supposedly left to go to the cabin?
He did. He told me that he woke up at 6:15 a.m. on Friday the 2nd, and his parents were not home. So he told me that his estimated time frame of when they left was somewhere between 4 a.m. and 6:15 a.m.
He gives this bizarre story of his parents leaving in an unknown car, going to a cabin with an unknown couple, with an unknown amount of money, for really an unknown reason. So sheriff's deputies do what cops do, which is they ask him, have you heard from him? And he says, yeah. I got a text from my mom. And he did. He showed him his phone, made it safely. This is from Krista Halderson to Chaz. That's what his family calls him. Not Chandler, they call him Chaz. Made it safely. Can't get anything through, though. Yes, it's packed. Going to White Lake today for the parade. We'll be home Monday night, Tuesday early. I love you lots. So at this point, the sheriff's deputies don't know what they're dealing with. These folks get up there and decide, now we're going to go to the casino for a few days. We're going to play hooky. Didn't make a lot of sense. They started talking to coworkers and realized these people had never no-call, no-showed, missed work, which they both did on Friday. Did they crash their car? Did this other couple kidnap them? Where the hell are they?
We did contact our ISB, which is our detective division, as we felt that there was enough information now that there might be a reason to get detectives involved. So they were contacted that day.
Were you asked to perform some of that work on July 7th, 2021, regarding the missing persons of Krista and Bart Halderson in Windsor?
Yes.
How early did you get involved in the investigation? I think we heard that Chandler went into the sheriff's department about 11:30 that day. When were you first kind of involved?
I believe I was called around 1:30 p.m. and was at the Halderson home speaking with Chandler by 4:30.
So now we've heard from 3 people already. You're the 4th person to speak to Chandler that day?
I believe so.
Tell me where you speak to Chandler in the Halderson home. Where do you go?
So when I spoke with Chandler, we were sitting at the dining room table.
And what did he tell you?
Chandler told me much of the same as what we've already heard. His parents had gone missing after reportedly going to the cabin. Chandler said that he had helped them pack for the cabin on the evening of July 1st. He woke up at approximately 6:15 a.m. on July 2nd, the Friday, and they were already gone. He told me that he believed his parents were leaving with a couple of friends. He did not know who the friends were.
Did he tell you anything they took with them to the cabin?
Yes, Chandler told me that he had helped his parents pack tools, wrenches, pipe sealant, a hatchet, and 2 gas cans for the chainsaw. He also later told us that there was a bin in the garage for the cabin that they would take every time, and that bin was no longer in the garage, so they had taken that also.
When you got back to Madison, I think we heard from your daughters, they took some time and they had went over to the Halderson house at some point.
Right, because I had told them, I said, well, you know, and Krista and Uncle Bart are missing. And Haley's like, we'll just go be with Chaz so he's not alone. I said, okay. Because that's what she would do for me.
As soon as I got home, I talked to my mom for a little while and decided that I should head over to the Halderson residence.
And why'd you do that?
Because since they're like family, I'm sure that Krista would have wanted us to take care of her boys as my parents would have wanted us to take care of them.
Okay. And who was at the Halderson home?
Chaz and a bunch of other detectives and stuff.
Okay. And you say Chaz, you mean Chandler?
Correct.
Okay. And what did you go over there with the intention of doing?
Making him dinner and making sure he was okay.
Okay. Did you go with anyone, go by yourself, or something else?
I went with my twin sister, Hannah.
Okay. Do you remember roughly what time you guys showed up?
5:36.
Okay, so dinner time.
Dinner time.
Okay. So based
yeah.
on learning that Bart and Krista were missing, what, if anything, did you decide to do?
Okay, so I decided, you know, we need to be here for Chandler. At this time, I didn't know anything about, like, you know, much except for they were missing, and Mitchell and Chandler Halderson were like, we were really close to them growing up. So I said, man, like Chaz is like home all alone there, you know, like without them, like this is so sad. And so we run inside and we had just bought some food to cook. And we were going to go cook it at their house because we were like, well, let's just go over there now. Instead of cooking it here, we'll just go run there and say hello to him. And when we pull in the drive, I just remember like there was, the DAs were there. Or detectives, I don't know what you guys are. Okay, but you guys were there, and then
The police.
Yes.
But in plain clothes.
Okay. Yes, the police. I don't know what they really. Okay, so I was like, whoa, this is like crazy, you know, like what is like going on? So we go inside, and yeah.
When you get to the house, do you have any interactions with Chandler?
Yes, he greets us at the door and gives us a side hug.
He gave you a side hug? Is that how he normally greeted you?
No. We're
Explain
hugging
that.
family. We all hug each other, full arms, straight on.
Other than the side hug, how would you describe Chandler's demeanor?
I would just say he was preoccupied. He had a lot of other stuff going on. There wasn't much he could do with us. Very busy.
So when you got there, did you guys talk? Did you make dinner? What occurred?
We ended up not making dinner because the detectives were there for a while. My sister and I sat up on the couches while they were downstairs doing stuff with the detectives. And then at one point we helped out with the dogs because we know they're dogs and they're very scared of people. So we took them out the back and we were playing with them outside for a while, playing fetch. And then we'd come in because one of the dogs got hurt, and so we decided that we'd just bring them in because we don't want them to keep running around if they're already hurt, and then we fed them dinner upstairs. So we returned back upstairs.
Okay, you fed the dogs dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened next?
Detectives left probably like 15, 20 minutes after that, and then my sister and I sat at the table with Chandler.
It's like my mind was just like, this is such a weird situation and I want to not be here at all anymore. Like from the moment I walked in, I didn't want to be there at all, you know, so.
What do you mean when you say it was a weird situation?
Well, first off, the police are there, you know, and I didn't know at all like anything of this caliber could be possibly ever be going on, that I would ever experience this in my life. And the feeling I received from Chandler was different to me than that of that I normally feel from him. And so it's just weird.
Okay.
You know, I gave him a hug right when I walked in, and it wasn't like, oh my God, good to see you, you know? And I know that his parents were missing and stuff, but it was just he seemed different than he normally does. Not as, he's the more like warmer one usually.
And he was less warm on this occasion?
Yes, I would say less warm.
Do you, at some point that evening, talk to Chandler about his parents being missing?
Yes. So, you know, we sit down at the table and the detectives leave. I wanted to go with them, but...
Why?
Just a weird vibe, and this is just not somewhere... I just didn't feel very safe. Like, I felt... I don't know how to explain it, but it's like I'm sitting in the middle of what now seems to be a crime scene with somebody who is acting differently than I'm used to. And it just doesn't feel like a good idea.
Tell me about leaving the house that evening. When did you guys decide to leave, and was there anything that made you leave?
We left because he said he was going to go eat dinner with Gail and Rick, so that's why we ended up not making dinner ourselves with him. We just left the groceries in the car. We never took them in.
Okay. And you leave with your sister?
Yep.
What, if anything, did you do once you learned that they were missing?
Yeah, I texted Chaz and I emailed Mitchell.
Okay.
To offer support, see what I could do. Offered to bring Chaz food because, again, knowing Krista, that she would have left him a set amount of food. At least that's been my experience. We offered to bring him food down to the house.
Okay. And did he take you up on that offer?
He elected to come up to our house.
Okay. And where do you live in connection to the 4595 Oak Springs Circle address?
So just up the hill from them. Okay. So
you guys are neighbors?
Yes.
Okay. And then do you remember, was it July 7th that Chandler came over for dinner?
Is that Wednesday, July 7th?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me about that night. Do you remember about what time Chandler arrived?
It was probably somewhere around 7:45 to 8 p.m., if I remember correctly.
Okay. And how did the evening begin?
Just, you know, we expressed how sorry we were, how worried we were, what could we do to help. We did talk about police going to the cabin.
What did you and Chandler do while your husband was out getting the pizza?
We talked. By that point, there were things that were said that just didn't align with the couple that I knew. So I went out into the kitchen to just put some distance because I was just a bit uncomfortable.
Okay. Let's back up a little bit. You said that you started to feel uncomfortable and some things were said that didn't line up. Mm-hmm. What was said?
So Chandler was actually trying to be very assuring that that they had taken a large roll of cash. They wanted to blow off some steam. They were going to go gamble. That they had taken a tote of booze with gin and tequila in it, which were not as I mentioned, alcohol, as I was aware of them drinking. And that they drove with another couple. So those things just.
1 and 1 were not equaling
No,
2
that
at
it's
this
just, it wasn't the people I knew.
Okay. So you said you went to the kitchen. Why did you go to the kitchen?
Because there had been, he was, just the things he was saying, he was just very, what I perceived as, just emotionally flat. I don't know, I was uncomfortable, so when my husband left, I stepped into the kitchen.
So some people are kind of emotionally
Right.
flat, and that's just kind of how they present. Was that Chandler most of the time?
Not to that extent. So like that evening when he was at our house and he talked about the dogs and how he was frustrated that he expressed concern that the dogs had been locked out in the garage during the whole time that the detectives or police were there. And he got, emotional that they didn't deserve that. They shouldn't be out there. So it was more so than when he spoke about his parents that more emotionally flat. And
so he got more emotional over the dogs than his mom and dad being missing.
Yes, yes, when he talked about the dogs, there was more emotion.
Why do you move into the kitchen?
I just felt uncomfortable. I wanted me to be between the door and him. And again, he did not do anything that was physically concerning. I just was uncomfortable because what he was saying, it was not making sense to me.
Did you talk at all about Chandler's medical concerns at that time?
Yes, so he had mentioned that because of his concussion, I wasn't clear if he had the CAT scan or was scheduled for the CAT scan, but that there was going to be a large deductible with that. And then I made the comment, and I don't know if this will make sense, but I made the comment, well, you'll be getting that large paycheck from American Family. So not exactly what you wanted to go to, but at least you have those resources. And so we had been told that Chandler had roughly a 6-month position with American Family that progressed from an internship to a paid position, but that he hadn't been getting paid and that he was going to be getting this large check. And then he made the comment that something along the lines, that didn't work out or that's not going to happen. And I was really uncomfortable with things that were being said prior to that. But I remember thinking, I just need him to leave now because I don't believe anything he said.
Did you know a couple by the name of Bart and Krista Halderson?
Yes.
How did you know them?
They were my next door neighbors to the west of me.
Okay. In early July of last year, so after the 4th of July weekend, maybe going into the 7th, 8th, that time period, at some point, did Chandler come over to your house?
He did.
Okay. Now, do you have any security cameras at your house?
We do.
It's kind of difficult to track them down, so I was hoping anyone would have security cameras and stuff like that.
We do. For you guys, okay?
Thank you.
Take care of things.
Take care.
Bye.
It's across the street from my house, kitty corner a little bit. So, I mean, the lots do not line up perfect, but they're staggered just a little bit, but we are across the street from the Halderson residence.
Did Chandler come to your home on July 8th of 2021?
Yes,
Do you have any security cameras of any sort at your house?
I have a Ring video on the front door of my entrance of house. I'll meet you in the garage, okay?
Okay.
Did you do anything as you prepared to go into the garage to meet Chandler?
Yes, after I created the puppy, I decided that I was going to record the contact I was going to have with Chandler. So I had my phone, I activated the recorder.
Why'd you do that?
Well, being a police officer, for many years, I felt, or I suspected something wasn't right based on my observations from the day before, where I saw 3 squad cars outside the Halderson house for an extended period of time. That's not something we normally see in the neighborhood, let alone for a missing person type case. Usually the officers aren't at the scene for an extended period of time. So I suspected something wasn't right, I just didn't know what.
Okay.
Sorry about what's going on.
What it is, but I was wondering if your door camera
You
picks
do
up
have
the
a ring,
road.
yeah.
Does it pick up the road?
Yes, some it does.
Would you have any notifications from Friday morning early before 6:15?
We can check. That's not a problem. Is that before
That'd be great.
6:15?
Yeah, before 6:15, kind of since Thursday midnight.
Okay.
Any notifications? would
Okay.
be helpful.
My wife is the one that knows how to run that, so I'll have her pull it up on the computer. So Thursday night to Friday morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
On July 8th of 2021, did you answer the doorbell and correspond with a young man about camera systems?
Yes,
And that was captured by some Ring doorbell footage?
yes.
Hi, my name is Chandler Halderson. I live just down the road.
Oh, yes,
You're the one with all of the police.
yeah.
I was told you had the fancy security system. I was wondering if you were able to capture the road or my house.
The police actually came and downloaded everything they have. But it's actually my sister's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they were here, I think till like 9 o'clock last night and downloaded all the video she's got. So we're hoping that...
Yeah, did it capture anything on...
We don't know. We don't know. They just took a copy of everything, and so we're hoping...
wide angle lens?
Yeah, and it's all...
Be able to get a
Yeah, and it's all HD, and then I think there's one...
especially in the dark. It looks like it has a little bit of night vision.
Yeah, and there's one on the corner of the garage, too. I don't know if that one quite goes that direction, but...
Maybe see this road and take it from over here.
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, we give them everything that we had, so we're hoping they find something on there. I don't know if there's anything we can do.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for staying with us. Officials are still searching for this couple, Bart and Krista Halderson. Now, there are a lot of questions about the Dane County couple's disappearance that we are working to get some answers to, but tonight, police aren't saying much. And that led us to the couple's son, who says he's just as confused as investigators. Adam Duxter spoke with that man today. He's here now with what he learned. Adam?
Well, Eric, Chandler Halderson lives with his parents in the village of Windsor and says another unknown couple picked them up early Friday morning before he was awake. And tonight we're left to wonder what happened to Bart and Krista Halderson. Schuster says his usually quiet street is busier than ever since last night.
I pulled in, there was a couple of sheriffs out there, then 2 hours later there's 3-4 detectives there. As we saw the detectives enter the house, that's where we knew there's something going on inside Bart's house.
Shortly after, the Dane County Sheriff's Office shared this photo of Bart and Krista Halderson. Police say the couple had planned to go to their cabin in Langlade County. Their son, Chandler, asked not to be shown on camera, but he told us he didn't see his parents leave and added they didn't drive themselves.
They were picked up by their friends, who I never got the name of, and I assumed it was someone I was aware of, close neighbors of theirs up the street, or their best friends down on the east side. So that's what I assumed. I never really asked any further.
Chandler says he assumed his parents had turned off their phones to avoid roaming charges. And it wasn't until after the holiday weekend ended that he got nervous.
Because this weekend it was packed. I get that. Packed. Maybe the weather wasn't great for messaging.
Tonight, Dane County Sheriff's Office says there are too many unanswered questions to say anything, while Langlade County Sheriff's Office wouldn't confirm they're helping in a search. Police instead spending today interviewing neighbors, like Brett Schuster himself.
Just shocked. I mean, it's odd, though. Everything this seems, it's odd and shocking that, you never expect or anticipate seeing something that, especially that close to your house. I hope everything works out and it's just a misunderstanding with communication and comes pulling in the driveway any minute.
And Chandler Halderson says for his parents to leave, even with another person, does happen from time to time. But he tells me another family member went to that cabin to check out cell service and was able to get through.
Hopefully we get some answers soon. Adam Duxer reporting. Adam, thank you.
The search continues for this couple, Krista and Bart Halderson. They live near DeForest. They were reported missing yesterday. NBC 15's Elise Ramos joins us live from the Dane County Sheriff's Office Northeast Precinct. Elise, you spoke with their son and people in the Haldersons' neighborhood.
Yeah, John, the Halderson's son says that he helped his parents pack up the night before their trip to their cabin in Langlade County. He hasn't seen them since.
I was told they'd be home Monday or Tuesday, and Tuesday afternoon I got a little worried.
Chandler Halderson says his parents, Krista and Bart, were getting picked up by friends that Friday. They were planning to be at the cabin over the 4th of July weekend.
Apparently they did make it. I got a text on Sunday.
Halderson says after that text, he began getting worried when his calls to his mom went directly to voicemail.
That's when I got worried and I went to make a report.
Halderson says his aunt went to the cabin on Tuesday, but did not find anyone there.
Shocked. It's odd. The whole thing is just odd.
Brett Schuster lives next door to the Haldersons.
This is typically a quiet neighborhood. You usually never see anything like this or anticipate or expect to hear something like this.
One of Halderson's biggest concerns, who his parents were with when they left.
They went with their friends. But I didn't ask who their friends were, so I'm still not really sure.
While law enforcement searches for answers, the community is hoping for the Haldersons' safe return.
I hope everything works out and this, lost communication, they're up north and they pull in any minute. So thoughts and prayers to them and hope everything's fine.
I called the Langlade County Sheriff's Office today for information, and they told me that the Dane County Sheriff's Office is leading this investigation. I'm waiting to hear back from Dane County on whether or not deputies did a welfare check at that cabin in Langlade County. In DeForest, Elise Ramos, NBC 15 News.
Authorities are still searching for a Windsor couple who have not been seen in days. 50-year-old Bart Halderson and his wife, 53-year-old Krista, were supposed to travel north last week and return home on Tuesday.
But their son tells Tony Galley his parents' whereabouts are unknown.
Bart and Krista Halderson of Windsor had plans for the 4th.
Their plans were going up with their friends and do some minor repairs on our cabin.
That cabin is some 3 hours away from Windsor on a lake in a small community in Langlade County.
Did you literally see them pulling out of the driveway heading out?
No.
Their son, Chandler Halderson, who asked to be off camera, says whoever his parents were traveling with from this neighborhood were to do the driving. He says he received a text from his mother.
She got back to me on Sunday, said They made it safely.
That's the last he's heard from his parents. Neighbor Brett Schuster's reaction to the Haldersons' disappearance.
Wow. You know, my wife is pretty shook up too. I mean, they're a very nice couple, very nice family.
Detectives now go door to door here, while sheriff's personnel here in Dane County are checking for any and all information. The missing couple's son says law enforcement in Langlade County has checked on the family's cabin there, and he says that visit only adds to the mystery.
The sheriff said it looked like there wasn't anyone home.
Family and friends hope the Haldersons' unexpected extended time away is just that, and not a sign they're in trouble.
While he was still on his phone on July 8th, he was still telling everyone his parents were missing. Not just the police. This kid was standing in his front lawn giving media interviews to all the local media outlets about the cabin and the unknown couple and the unknown car. He was going door to door in his neighborhood. My parents are missing. Can you help me out? Do you have any security cameras, by the way? But while he's doing this that morning, what's he Googling? This is what he's Googling. Body found, Wisconsin. Woman's body found, Wisconsin. Wisconsin dismembered body found. We'll come back to the next two. Dead body found in Wisconsin. Body found in Milwaukee River. He's searching for whether they found his parents. You went to work and tell me about work that day.
I was very emotional and upset and just very distraught, and I just couldn't be there because I was really worried about his parents. And so I talked to my bosses about leaving early so I could go be at the house with Chandler and wait until we...
But how long did you make it at work that day before you left?
I was there max 30, 40 minutes.
Okay. And where did you go after you left?
I stopped at my mom's home to grab groceries so I could go to the house and cook for Chandler while we waited.
Okay. When you got to the house, was anyone else there?
When I pulled up, Chandler was outside talking to reporters.
At any point, did any other members of Chandler's family show up at the house?
Yes.
Who?
Mitch and his fiance.
Did Mitch stay outside or did he come in?
He came in the home.
And what did Mitch do?
He walked around the house, trying to see if there was anything that Chandler maybe missed about his parents leaving.
As Mitch walked around the house, what did Chandler do?
He followed him.
Followed him?
Yes.
At some point on the 8th of July, around 10:15 in the morning, did you receive a call that went to voicemail from Mr. Halderson?
I did.
Hi, my name is Chandler Halderson, and I haven't heard anything about my parents since, and I've heard everyone's been talking to my brother and not me. And I'd like to hear something. If you could give me a call back, my number is 920-838-4549. Thank you.
On the 8th, did you receive any calls from Chandler Halderson?
Yes, I received 3 telephone calls from Chandler.
And did you talk to him all 3 times?
Yes.
Okay. Approximately when was the first call that day?
The first call was at approximately 11:30 a.m.
Okay. And what, to your recollection, did you talk about with Mr. Halderson?
Mr. Halderson wanted to inform me that he had spoken to the news, the media, gave some interviews on that. I asked him if he had any further information for us that he may have provided to the media that we didn't have at that point, and he said he did not.
Approximately when was that call again?
That one, I believe, was approximately 11:30 a.m.
Was that recorded or not?
That was not.
Maybe shortly before noon on July 8th, Detective Liz Allen came to my office. She said she had just had a phone call with the mother of Catherine Melander, who was the girlfriend of Chandler Halderson. And during that phone call, She didn't intended to do initially just a phone interview, just kind of get some background information, but some things on that phone call alerted her to believe that we needed to follow up with a in-person interview. So she came to my office and asked me to sit in on that interview because we try to interview people, with at least 2 detectives there to support each other.
Sure. And was that with Dulce?
That was with Dulce, correct.
And just briefly, if you could describe Dulce's kind of emotional state during some of that interview.
Well, we got to the location where we agreed to interview her, which is she was in the middle of some classes, trying to improve her education. And we sat in a side little conference room, and she was emotionally distraught. She kind of had this look of fear and panic in her eyes.
Okay. At some point, do you end up going to a farm that you thought might have been visited by Chandler Halderson over the 4th of July weekend and leading into the next week?
Yeah, based upon our interviews with them, we determined we needed to get out to that farm right away and search it.
The next call with Mr. Halderson, when was that?
That one, I believe, was at approximately 1:30 p.m.
Okay. And what did you talk about at that time with Mr. Halderson?
Chandler told me that he had been searching around in his parents' bedroom, located a set of keys in his father's nightstand, the end table, that he believed were to the cabin. He told me that his brother Mitchell was on his way over to the Oak Springs home to grab those keys because Mitchell was going to drive up with his fiancée to the cabin to check it out.
Okay. And around this time you got this call, were you aware that Dane County had asked Langlade County to assist in this investigation?
I was.
And what was the plan at that point? Were deputies from here going up there?
Yes. I told Mr. Halderson that we'd like to be in contact with Mitchell as we were going to be sending 2 members of the sheriff's office up to assist with the search. I didn't want anybody going in or around the home without law enforcement present.
Sure. And was that call recorded?
It was not.
Did you personally yourself walk out there with Cress or Dulce or anybody?
Yes, I did.
Who was with you?
Well, I had first gone there, responded out there pretty quickly. There were a lot of red flags that popped up during my interview with Crescent, and I called to the command post to Detective Sims, and I talked to her, and I'm like, I need some more people. We need to get out here. We need to search this place right away. But we were pretty stretched thin at that point. We had sent a team up to, a team was headed up to the cabin to do some more investigation up there. I'm like, we need some more people. We need to get out there and search it. So she was able to provide at least another detective, Detective Tim Blank, along with me and Detective Liz Allen. And then while I was on the way, I contacted Barry Ehrman from the Dane County Medical Examiner's Office and asked him to respond with his cadaver dog to help us do the search.
Sure.
I got there and nobody was there. I had expected Cress and Dulce to beat me there. I went to the house, knocked on the door, and nobody answered. And I got worried that they may went up and started searching on their own. So I went up there. I went up into the grassy area. I can see you have a photo of the farm there. So I could see whether or not anybody was back by there. And, I noticed, during my contact with Cress, she did talk that she had recently seen vultures circling over the property.
Did you yourself at some point see some birds over the woods?
Yes.
And what were those birds?
Turkey vultures.
And did that raise red flags to you?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Most birds really don't have a sense of smell except for turkey vultures. Turkey vultures actually, when a body or an animal or creature dies, it starts going through some changes. The microorganisms on there start producing different gases, and it emanates an odor. Turkey vultures can smell that. And when they do, they'll start circling the area to locate where it's coming from.
And were those turkey vultures over the wooded area at the farm?
When I got there, yeah.
Okay. Did you find Cress and Dulce as you walked back there?
Eventually, I walked up there, I didn't see them, and then Cress came out of the back sliding patio door and met me. And then I asked her if she could show me again where she had seen Chandler back by the woods. And we walked back up to the area of the shed, and she showed me.
As you got over toward, let's say, that junk pile, before the grass gets longer there, did you see any signs that a car had been over there?
Yes.
What did you see?
Well, Detective Blank pointed it out first. He pointed over and he said, well, looks like cars driven through the tall grass over here. I'm like, yeah, it does. So we went over there and we saw there were 2 tracks of the taller grass. The grass is probably about, waist high. You can see the 2 track marks that go back along the parallel with the wood line there.
Okay. And at that point or shortly thereafter, you and other detectives began maybe searching a little bit closer into where those tire tracks went?
Yeah, we began to follow them. They went back probably about to an area where there were some white wooden boxes that are old beehives. They're just kind of stored along the tree line.
And that's before you entered the woods, correct?
That's before I entered the woods. So picture doesn't show it as much, but there's, again, you can see the vegetation in the ground there, but it was very directional as far as this area. To see like this log, the vegetation had been trampled down. So it's hard to tell from this picture, but there's actually a downward slope here. If the trees weren't here, it'd be a good little sledding hill for little kids. But there's like a downward slope that goes down into, you can see like a little brush pile down there.
Okay. 88, what are we looking at there?
More of the trampled grass that goes to this log that goes across. And then you can see they get the green moss on the log, but there's areas where the green moss had been scraped off as if something had scraped it off.
Did you notice anything ultimately beyond that log at this point?
Yeah, the pile of sticks on the other side of the log, and there was just something that wasn't natural under the sticks.
Did you go check it out?
Yeah, I got as close as I had to.
89, the photo just moving a little bit closer.
Yep, again, you see the scrapes on the log there, just under the moss, and then you can see the pile of sticks there, and there's something underneath it. Couldn't quite tell what it was right away, so I stepped over the log and got a little bit of a closer look.
And what did you find?
I didn't know what it was at first.
What do you mean by that?
It took me a while to process what I was seeing, then it became obvious that I was looking at a human torso.
Okay. And in that pile of debris, under dozens of sticks, bushes, and dirt, they found Bart Halderson. Now, when I say they found Bart Halderson, I need to explain that. They found a human torso. Someone had crudely chopped off the head, the arms, and sawed off the legs in the middle of the thigh, leaving the underwear on and the beginnings of the pants. They removed the sticks and brush over a course of a few hours. They brought out doctors from the medical examiner's office to make sure everything was done appropriately. They rolled the torso over. There were gunshots in the back. This man had been shot in the back and chopped up. At this point, the farm, a beautiful farm, cultivated for years with wildflowers, kind of an Eden of sorts, was turned into a crime scene. Police swarmed the place. Drones were in the air, cadavers, dogs were on the ground. Everyone's looking through absolutely everything they could, but it's a farm. There's a million places things could be. But one detective said, "Look at that. in the woods. Is that a garbage can full of a tarp? It was. And I'll tell you that tarp was taken to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab eventually. Bart Halderson, Krista Halderson, their blood is all over it. Another detective said, that spot where Chandler was walking out of the woods, there's an oil barrel there, like an old fuel tank with a hole in it. That's right where the car was parked. So she peeks her head in. And that's what she sees. Broken saw blades, hand saws, scissors, tree loppers, all of them tested by the state crime lab, all of them covered in human flesh and blood of Bart and Krista Halderson. Did something happen between the second call and, you said there were 3 calls, and the third call that day that was important in the investigation?
Yes, we received information that Chandler Halderson was observed out at the farm in Cottage Grove near a wooded area. I also had just received, prior to the third call, information that torso was located in the area that Chandler Halderson was last seen.
In your mind and in the course of the investigation, is that the point where this became a homicide investigation for you versus a missing persons investigation?
Yes.
So the third call, when was that?
That one was approximately 3:30 p.m.
Okay. And was that call recorded?
That one was recorded.
And why was that one recorded and the prior 2 not?
At that point, Chandler had called me. We found a torso in the location where he was observed. It appeared to be a male torso at that time. Chandler moved from a person of interest to a suspect at that point.
A little confused. I got 2 squads parked right outside my house, and they're not really canvassing. They're just kind of sitting there. Is everything all right?
Yeah, I mean, they're in the area doing canvassing, and they're also probably doing a shift change right now, getting our second shift crew on around 3:30.
Oh, there's 4 now. Something going on that we need to know?
Well, they're probably doing reports. They're probably doing shift change. You know, they've been going around trying to get a hold of neighbors, so I'm wondering if they're in the area trying to catch people now that they're coming home from work. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to any of them in just a little while.
All right. Well, any news with my brother? I haven't heard from him.
No, as far as I know, they're still on their way up north. A couple-hour drive, so he's probably halfway into it, right?
Yeah, I suppose about.
Yeah. Any news on your end at all? Have you gotten any phone calls, text messages?
Gotten any messages other than from concerned parents?
Okay.
I can't. There's no mail. There's a hold on my mail.
Okay.
Is that normal? Are you guys getting it at least?
No, we don't put a hold on people's mail. I've never heard of that happening before.
There's a hold on my mail. There's a ticket in there. All mail held at the station is what it says.
Okay. Yeah, nothing done by us, that's for sure.
Because I'm going to need my medical bills.
Yeah. No, we wouldn't put a hold on people's mail, and typically only the people that live at the address can do that. Did your parents put a hold on the mail? Does it say who put the hold on the mail?
I can go check, I suppose.
Okay.
Do you know of anything? So, I don't know. It's kind of stressful. Sorry, so there's nothing new going on?
Not that I'm aware of.
Alright.
Yeah. Who's there? Are you at home still right now, obviously? Because you're saying they're outside. Who's there with you?
Yeah, no, they're not with me. They're just 4 squads just parked outside.
Okay. Who was just talking in the background, Kat?
Yeah, Kat's over with me.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, I mean, I can definitely give you a call or message you, I guess, depending. What time are you planning on going to dinner?
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
pretty soon here.
Is it cool to call you?
Hoping to hear from. What was that?
Is it cool to call you while you're at dinner? Okay.
Anytime.
Okay. Well, I'll keep you posted if I hear anything. I mean, obviously with the mail, that has nothing to do with us at all. I've never heard of a detective or law enforcement agency holding somebody's mail. You know, and then as far as everybody in the area, you know, you kind of had to figure we were going to be in the area all day today.
Yeah, I was just wondering why there were 4 cars instead of the canvassing.
Yeah.
Oh, any news about that blue house with the big cameras?
The blue house with the big cameras. Is that the one across the street?
Yeah, across the street, kind of in the corner. It's a newer house.
I haven't talked to...
I stopped by their house.
Yeah, I have a detective that's getting footage from the area. I don't know exactly which houses he's gotten video from yet. But yeah,
Sounds like they downloaded all of it and already have it at IT.
Oh, okay. So he's probably reviewing it now.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes time to go through those things. You figure you can only fast forward so much.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll give you a holler if anything pops up. You know, and I'll give a call around and just kind of get a briefing from people up in the area.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. Thanks, Chandler.
Thank you.
Bye.
There were parts of that conversation where Mr. Halderson asked about increased police presence or whether something new had happened in the case. At that point, something new had happened in the case, right?
Correct.
Why did you not tell him that, and why did you answer the questions in the way you did?
So at that point, keep in mind, we had just received the information that a torso was located in the area that Chandler was at the farm. So in the command post, we're trying to arrange a lot of different things. A lot's going on. We're trying to, you know, control that crime scene out there. We're trying to get our crime scene investigators back to the area. I'm trying to get detectives out in the area of the Oak Springs home. I was trying to ask Chandler who was at the house because I'm trying to determine, you know, first if he's home, where he's at. Like I said, he was a suspect at this point, so I just wanted to find out where he was, who he is with. I didn't want to tip him off, you know, that I had other areas or other officers converging into the area.
Okay. What was the plan at that point? Following that call with Chandler at, you said about 3:30?
Correct.
And approximately how long before that had you received the torso news?
It was approximately a half hour prior.
So you're 30 minutes into knowing it's a homicide investigation. What plan do you come up with in the command post at that point?
So we had already, like I said, called our crime scene unit back to respond to the farm. We had several deputies and detectives in the area of the Oak Springs address doing canvassing. We're contacting neighbors. We're talking to friends. You know, a lot was going on in that neighborhood. So there was an increased police presence, obviously, throughout the investigation. At that point, a few phone calls were made just to have detectives and deputies more so in the area. And then, you know, basically, I was trying to arrange for Chandler to come downtown to the public safety building where I was located so we could perform an interview.
Sure. And was there anyone else you really wanted to interview that day?
We wanted to interview Kat also. Okay. Kat Melander.
How was that accomplished? What happened?
So we had some detectives and also a deputy assist make contact with Chandler and Kat. They consensually, basically they were told that detectives wanted to talk to them downtown, and they consented to that.
Okay. Were they driven downtown or did they drive themselves?
They were driven.
In squad cars?
Correct.
And were they in the same squad car or separate squad cars?
They were in separate.
Edward, Sam, Zebra, 4, 5.
Later that day, you were asked to go to the police station downtown, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And was Chandler asked to do the same?
Yes.
You were brought down here by the police, right?
Yes.
Were you in the same car or different cars when they brought you down here?
I was in a.
You're doing okay.
I was in a different squad car than Chandler.
When they got down here, were they taken to the same room or were they together for any length of time?
Yes, when they arrived here, when the squads pulled in to the location, they were able to talk. They were right next to each other. They were escorted up the elevators to our interview area, which is in an office area of the building.
And when Kat and Chandler were brought into these interview rooms, were they walked down together? Were they walked down separately? How did that work?
Yeah, so they would have came up the elevator together in the presence of law enforcement. You would walk out into a hallway. Kat would have went down the hallway to the left and around the corner. Chandler remained in that position because the interview room he was going to was right there.
You want to grab all your stuff. This one's a little bit more comfortable. And the lighting might be a little bit better. So if you just want to have a seat right there, perfect. Thank you so much.
This? Or
Sure, that's fine.
I'm trying to figure out what's up.
No, you're fine. Just have a seat. We'll be right there with you. Okay. Oh, there's a Pooh Bear? All right, you can play with it if you want to. Don't have to twist my arm. All right. Oh, did you guys I didn't. Cat,
Oh, it's right over there if you want to.
Oh, I can grab it. Okay.
I won't hit you with the Pooh Bear.
Oh, please don't. Thank you. You're so funny. Just hang out for a bit, please. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Did you go into an interview room with the police?
Yes, I did.
And did they ask you questions?
Yes.
Do you know about how long you were down here that night?
A couple hours.
Did you answer all of their questions?
Yes.
At that point, and I'm asking about what your mindset was at the time, did you believe that you or Chandler had done anything wrong at that point?
No.
Were you emotional during that interview?
Yes.
How do you express your emotions sometimes?
I cry a lot, or if I get too anxious or emotional, I start vomiting.
Those things were happening that night?
Yeah.
Police asked at times to look at your phone and photographs and things of that sort?
Pardon?
And did you show them anything they wanted to see?
Anything they wanted, yeah, I gave to them.
Why was it important to you to cooperate at that time?
Because I just believed his parents were missing. And I just want them to be found.
Were you the person who was with Chandler the most from, let's say, July 1st, all the way through when you were in the police station getting interviewed on the 8th? Were you maybe the person that, at least in your knowledge, were you the person who was maybe with him the most?
Yes.
And were you the person who, other than Chandler, was in, based on your knowledge, in the Halderson home the most?
Yes.
Prior to eventually being told what happened by police and perhaps the defense investigators or myself, did you know that Bart and Krista Halderson had died?
No.
And Kat, did you have absolutely anything to do with cleaning anything up or their disappearance?
No.
Good, Chandler. How are you doing?
Not good.
Good, good. But you guys switch spots.
Yeah. Go sit in that red chair.
Yeah. What's in the cup? Just
You
water?
got one water?
Okay.
Here's an extra one.
Check this. Oh, you're good.
What's going on?
All right. So we're just going to talk to you a little bit more, okay? Let's write some signage here. All right, just so you know, I'm gonna record stuff, okay? It just helps me remember everything and picks up everything that we talk about. All right. So Brian Shunk, Detective, Dane County Sheriff's Office. We spoke yesterday.
Yeah. Chandler Halderson.
Yep. How was your middle initial, Chandler?
M.
M as in Michael.
Michael.
And then your birth date.
3/15/1998.
Got it. And then your cell phone, I already have. We've been talking on that. So obviously we're here. We want to talk a little bit about your parents going missing, right, Krista and Bart?
So he's taken down to the station where he gives about an hour and a half, 2-hour interview where he gives the same lie of this mystery couple of, you know, taking lots of alcohol to the cabin, taking a large amount of cash, because, you know, accountants love to keep large amounts of cash around.
Okay.
We got all the background, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I think it's time we start talking about what happened to your parents. Like the truthful version.
Okay.
Okay? So we have like 20 pages of writing. We're going to start with a clean white piece of paper for you to start telling the truth.
Okay.
What? Because listen to me. This is the only chance you're going to have to tell us the truth.
Okay.
Okay? What we, listen. I can't tell you what we know, but we know you're not telling us the truth. We know your parents are no longer with us. Okay? And we know the reason why. Okay? You need to tell the truth. Listen. You need to tell the truth about what happened and just tell us why it happened. Okay? If something happened, if you were defending yourself, or if you just got fed up with stuff, you need to tell us the truth. Okay? This is your chance to tell us why. Okay? I'm not BSing you. Okay? So can we do that? Okay, they're okay. Lawyer.
I'm sorry. Say it again, Chandler.
Lawyer.
Okay. Because they're...
You want a lawyer?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just write down the time there. It's about 6:41.
You're under arrest. Okay?
Okay.
What happened?
Okay.
You know what happened. We're not going to tell you what happened. You know what happened. You were there when it happened. We're not BSing you, okay?
I wasn't there when it happened. We know more than you think we know.
I
Okay?
understand. Okay.
There's people that have told us things. We have evidence. We have proof that more has happened. Okay. So your parents never made it to the cabin, and I think you know that. Okay. So you're asking for an attorney. We're not going to ask any more questions. Miss him.
Go stand up.
You want to stand up? Just come over here for me. Do you have any in your pockets at all? Wallet. Just a wallet that they put in there. Oh. What's this right here? Yeah. So they won't take the vape down in the jail. Okay. Where's the lawyer? Where's your coin purse at?
You just took it.
Oh, that's a vape and a coin purse.
No, it's in.
Oh, I got you. So I'm just gonna make sure you don't have anything, okay? Okay.
Do they know when Chandler's going to be done?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're done.
Yeah.
They, sounds like he's not quite as cooperative as you.
Fair.
Any reason why?
It's probably worried you guys are going to be like, Chandler did it.
Okay.
You know? I think that's everyone's fear.
Yeah.
Like, no one wants to be accused of killing their parents. I'm also, I think, just a very understanding person that will, look for the best in everything.
Okay.
But,
Well, right now, because he's not being so cooperative or forthcoming, his parents are missing, it looks like they're going to take him into custody.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. I don't know what the charges are yet, but right now it's just going to be because of the missing persons investigation and him lying to the detectives. Why he's lying, I mean, we're all wondering. You probably know him best. Why do you think he's not being truthful?
Doesn't want to depend on him, I guess.
The lies are important because it's all Chandler Halderson had. And when they were exposed, he started coming up with this plan. And yeah, after the Omar Job text comes in on the 29th, he's having a conversation with his girlfriend. You heard, Miss Farah actually read it, and that's fair. The day before, hey, are we going to the cabin? What's going on? They're talking about the cabin. He's starting to dabble with the idea of what he's doing. But then I think it was at 1:04 p.m., just about an hour and a half, 2 hours before he did it, he says they're going to the cabin this weekend. He made his final decision. Because at that moment, Chandler Halderson knew there was no way out. He couldn't get in the car and drive away. He couldn't make up another lie. He couldn't make up another email. He couldn't buy another burner phone. It was done. Everyone was going to see him for what he was. Just some liar. Some guy without a job, not going to school, who'd been lying to everyone for years. And he couldn't handle that. So he committed the ultimate act of betrayal against your parents. Perhaps against any human being, but especially your parents, the person who held you when you were a baby and cleaned up your cuts on your knee when you were learning to ride a bike, comforted you when you were crying. The ultimate act of betrayal. He shot his parents. And then he cut them up and he hid them